right, good evening, everyone. The time is 7:06. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Vice President Ferguson, could you do the invocation, please?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Father God, we just give you thanks, and we thank you for your love and your kindness. We praise you for your greatness and your righteousness. And Father God, we just thank you for being our Jehovah Jireh, our provider, and we ask that you will continue to bless us and our families. We invite your presence into this meeting, and we ask that you will bless us with your peace that surpasses all understanding. Father God, bless us with the wisdom and wise counsel as we meet tonight. Bless the citizens of Glenarden, the employees of Glenarden, and all who's affiliated with us. In Jesus' name we pray. And our families, and amen. Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please?
Good evening. Councilwoman Fareed?
Here.
Councilwoman Guillaume?
Here.
Councilman Hairston?
Here.
Councilman Herring?
Here.
Councilwoman Jones?
Here.
Council Vice President Ferguson?
Here.
And Council President Curtis.
Here. Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda for the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, by unanimous consent, the agenda for the public hearing is hereby adopted. There's only one item on the agenda, and that's citizens' comments on the FY26 budget and the constant yield tax rate. Just to remind our citizens online and in person that we are going to have another meeting after this. It's going to be a special regular meeting where we will be voting on pending legislation. We'll be voting on the budget. And at that time, you'll be able to speak about other things as well. But this particular public hearing is just for the FY26 budget and the constant yield tax rate. So if you do have comments on one of the two, please just raise your hand virtually or in this room. I will call on you, and you will have 5 minutes at the podium to speak. The floor is open for citizens' comments on the budget and the tax rate.
Well, just a question. Where would we find that information? Do we have copies? Is it online?
Yes, ma'am. It is online, and there is a packet at the back of the room.
Thank you.
Are there any comments online? Yes, Mr. Richard Arroyo Montgomery.
Yes. Hi. Good evening, council members, citizens. Can you hear me?
Not too well. Mr. Gray, can you turn him up, please?
Right now?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Just a little bit more, Mr. Gray, so we can hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that is great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Not hearing an echo. I think we're good. Again, good evening, council members, citizens. My name is Richard Arroyo Montgomery. I am a resident in the Ward 3. And I just wanted to make some comments with regards to the proposed FY26 tax increase. It's concerning to hear about a tax increase, considering that currently there are tax rebates being issued to homeowners. And I hope this is the right meeting to discuss this. This is the right time, right? Or is this the wrong time?
You are spot on. This is the right time. Go ahead.
Is this okay? So it's the right time. Okay, so yeah, so I'm just a little concerned about this increase. Considering the fact that again, tax rebates are being issued to homeowners. There were tax rebates issued just last year, I believe it was, because I know I received one as well. And here we are, again, there are still more tax rebates to be given out, but we have a tax increase being proposed. So I'm not quite understanding how these two go hand in hand. You're giving money back, but at the same time, you're proposing a tax increase. Additionally, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I am, but for the last several years, there has been a surplus and from within the budget. And so again, I'm just not understanding why there's even a proposed increase, considering these facts that there were surpluses last couple of years or so, as far as I can remember. I could be wrong, but if I remember correctly, there was a surplus. And again, there's enough money to be giving out a tax rebate to all homeowners in the city of Glenarden. So I don't know, it's just not making sense. But if someone could please help me make sense of it, I would just greatly appreciate that. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any council member would like to respond? Well, I'll respond. Well, Mr. Arroyo Montgomery, appreciate your comments. I completely understand. I can say that I did vote against the tax rebate for moments like this. I will say that there are two distinct differences. So when we went through the first one, the thought was that it would, ARPA would help fund the give back. And even though I voted for it, it passed. I did not vote for it, but it passed. But we had ARPA funds to fund that. In this second round, we do not have ARPA funds to fund it. So it is coming out of our surplus. So I completely understand where you're coming from as it relates to that point. Unfortunately, as it relates to me personally, I cannot make that make sense. But what I will say is that there is a trickle-down effect of everything that's going on in the nation right now, whether it be the overspending from government in certain areas and the retraction of spending in other areas, like grants to municipality or grants to states and municipalities, and also at the state level with I think it was a $3 billion shortfall. All of that has a trickle-down effect on local municipalities. You add that to the increase in costs, inflation across the board. At some point, municipalities across the county and the state were going to get hit with some sort of either increase or a hit to surpluses. Even with this increase, we are going to be hitting our surplus by $153,000, if I'm correct. So it was an effort to balance what we're taking out of our surplus so we don't bankrupt our future versus what do we increase now. So it was the thought behind increasing it to the 0.3947 was to have a balanced approach to the budget without hitting too hard on citizens and taking it from our surplus, and that is what this rate does. We fortunately can't go back in time to the first rebate to take that away. That is, I think that was a lot of that was paid from ARPA anyway. The second one, the council will have to decide whether we want to keep that open or close that gate. But either way, the rate would still likely have to remain in effect given the points that I just discussed, the federal level, the state level, and on a municipal level of just, we're not going to get as much money from the federal, we're not going to get as much money from the state, and things are increasing in cost.
Can I just ask a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
Okay, so with regards to the ARPA funding, since the ARPA funding is not there, why not, as you just stated, why not close that gate? Because it sounds to me like if you continue to give out rebates, there'll be a tax increase. So we're paying taxes for you to give tax rebates back to homeowners, which makes absolutely no sense. So why not just stop? I mean, if they miss the opportunity, they miss the opportunity. Oh, well, I'm sorry, because I don't think it's right for homeowners now have to fund a tax rebate that was offered by the city council in the first place. It's just not making sense. I mean, I understand the cost of living going up and everything else, but this ARPA tax rebate has to stop at this point, because you don't have the money for it, then you don't have the money for it. Homeowners should not be made, or citizens should not be made responsible to pay other homeowners a tax rebate.
I completely agree, which is why I voted against it. But to be fair to other council members, it came in two phases. So in the first phase, there was ARPA money to fund it. Completely understand, even though the same logic applies. The second phase, I don't think that anyone could have foreseen things going this far left on all levels. I mean, I was surprised at the $3 billion shortfall at the state, and I think everyone's equally as shocked as for how many cuts that Doge, I think I pronounced that right, made, and things just prices aren't falling, and unfortunately people still have to, the cost of living is still increasing, people still get paid. So look, Mr. Arroyo Montgomery, completely understand you, but we're here now, and so the current window for the rebate closes on June 30th, I believe. Is that right? That's right. So, and Mr. Stewart, has there been an influx in applications?
Okay, thanks for that question. So what has been happening is the tax rebate really is about catching everyone for the 2024 year, and we are just closing off now on those who have not received. So it's trickling down to almost nothing now.
Correct. So, like the first wave, there weren't too many people that applied for it.
Right. And in the first,
didn't 800 people apply for it?
so in the first wave we
That's
have,
like, that's a lot. That's 50% of the residents.
What in the world? Can you mute her, please? I don't know if she was talking about this Anthony or somebody
Yeah.
else.
so in the first wave we had 900.
I'm sorry, I can't.
In the first wave we had 900 and I think 90 something people
Oh, you're
that
talking
have
this way.
applied, and in the second so far we have maybe 100 people who have who have applied.
Okay.
you
Out
know,
of
So it's going down.
how many that are eligible?
Eligible, I believe eligibility went up to 2,000, but I don't think anyone is interested.
And what was the total cost of the rebate program?
The cost of the program, it's
Total.
which the total.
Across both?
I'd have to look at that and
Okay.
get back to you.
All right.
Yes.
No, well, that's what? 500 times the total.
Right, so that's,
Just, what was the total number? I can give it to you right now.
it's like 1,200, 500, 1,200 at 500
It was 1,200 rebates?
so far,
Okay. So $600,000.
yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Point of, Mr. President, may I?
Yes.
Because I want to correct you on
Councilman
something. We did not pay for that rebate with ARPA money. We paid for it with city surplus. We did not pay for it with ARPA. We could not do it with ARPA. We paid for it with city surplus. And I just feel that it was an opportunity, if you only had 50% of the people apply for it, I think the other 50% should have the opportunity to apply for it, especially the way the letter went out, which was talking about Capitol Heights and other jurisdictions. So a lot of people thought it was scams. And a lot of seniors came to me and said, it was a scam. I thought it was a scam. And that's why y'all mailed it out the second time saying this is not a scam. So I think if they want to get it, we got, 19 days to go or 18 days to go. Leave it open. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the correction. I was viewing it as the ARPA going into our surplus anyway by one way or another. Yeah, I'll just move forward. Ma'am? And if you could, 1 second. So the people online cannot hear if you stand up. So please come to the podium and state your name, and then you'll have 5 minutes to speak. Oh, can you help her with the mic, please? And what ward you're from? Can you?
Good evening.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My only question is, when was the budget printed and distributed for us to look at so that we could actually make intelligent decisions and have questions? Thank you.
The budget was first printed,
Last week.
the first iteration of the budget was printed about a month ago. Oh, April, is it? Oh, yes, time is flying. In April, the budget was submitted by the Office of the Mayor. And then, once it got to the council, then we actually reviewed it and made some adjustments. We had work sessions. We had 2 work sessions where it was open to the public as well. And with the adjustments, the budget was then put back out. I don't know when was that? This week.
Okay, so it was put out last week.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The budget was put out last week where we went through it, made some changes, and then we sent it out again yesterday.
Yes, and it was also put in the paper. What paper was it put in?
It's the Prince George's Post.
Prince George's Post,
Okay.
and online.
I think my mic. Anyway, it's amazing to me that something that is as important as this, we didn't have more notification of. There's no way you could sit here tonight and go over all of these figures and come up with any intelligent questions. I would like to suggest that when it's printed, if we put it even in the Glenarden letter and tell us that it's available so that we can have an opportunity to review it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. That's a good suggestion. As it relates to the newsletters are quarterly, correct? And so they go out, what, in April? April for the first quarter? Yeah.
And, Mr. President, and to be transparent, you know, we only decided a week ago really to take the rate up. Remember, the original budget had the current tax rate, which was at 0.3380.
0.3338.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Cross?
So Mario Cross, so on. Mario Cross on Ward 3. I remember the mayor was supporting the tax increase, but she was really talking about the that this was not the time to do an increase for the taxes. Mayor Cross, can you elaborate on what you were discussing in the previous meetings on the
One
tax
second.
increase?
So you can address the chair of the meeting, and the chair can dole out anything to anyone on the dais.
Yes, that's fine. But Mayor Cross was talking about the tax increase, and she was supporting that the taxes should go up. But how can what was her view on the time and the reasoning why this is not the time for the tax increase? And the chair would not be able to answer that because it didn't come from the chair. That will have to come from the mayor.
Yeah, so, thank you. Respectfully, if you have a comment on, like, the budget in your opinion, I know typically you guys do a tag team of
It's not a tag team.
answering,
That's something for the citizens.
asking questions, and that's fine, but this public hearing is for your voice to be heard on what your opinion is about the tax rate or the budget. But we're not going to get into a back and forth between you and your wife of, you know,
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
the rationale.
But it's
You
not.
understand what I'm saying?
But since it's the public hearing, this is my public opinion, and this is what I want to hear to the public.
And rightfully so. Now state your public opinion.
Now, my public opinion is that I would like to hear what the mayor was discussing about the reasons why she said this is not the time for the tax increase. She said that a couple of meetings ago. It's on recording that that it was not the right time for it. So, what was that reason? And the citizens probably want to know that too. What was the reason that the mayor said it was not the tax increase?
Thank you, sir.
Would she be allowed to speak on it?
Well, if you have a comment about what your opinion is on the budget, then we'll accept it. So what I'm trying to avoid, and I'm trying to avoid a conflict between you and I, because you come
No,
up
we don't
here-
got no conflict.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, we
So you typically come up here, and between you and your wife, you go back with, so
The mayor?
your wife, the mayor, my apologies, and you guys go back and forth so you can isolate the conversation. I really want to hear, this is an opportunity as a public hearing for citizens to come to voice their own opinion on the budget. It's not for us to go back in time and
I'm just
give,
looking for clarification on the budget. And that's a clarification on
what clarification are you looking for?
that the mayor said that this is not the time for a tax increase.
Point of order, Mr. President. Can I just make a clarification? This is not the mayor's budget. The mayor gave us her budget, and this council's working on it, so now it is the council's budget. So her increase is not in this budget. She gave her explanation at the work session or the public hearing, one of the two. I asked at the work session what her reasoning was for the increase, and she said, because her budget actually did have a tax increase in it.
Right.
And she did state that, even though it has a tax increase, she doesn't feel like it's the time to raise
Correct.
taxes significantly. So, it's on video, it's on tape, but right now, we can't answer that question, and because the question should be directed to this council, because this budget is actually the council's budget. We're working on this. So her increase is not reflected in this budget now.
So she would not be allowed to speak on the
I'm
her,
at the-
interpretation.
Let me just say this, because just to clear it up, we had a public hearing scheduled for the mayor to come out and speak on her budget, and I don't know what happened. She wasn't here. We were all here. So, so to try to be fair to her, I asked at the work session to give her reasoning why, which she gave, and she stated clearly why her reasoning was, and I would like to refer any citizen that really want to know to go to that work session, which was June 5th.
But she's
You
here
can
right
see.
now. She could just summarize it right now in public.
Because it's not in this budget. This is
For the
not her budget.
10, 15 citizens that's here in public right now.
Mr. Cross,
You make it easy, I'm just saying.
and yes,
So
please-
citizens don't want to go back and look through a video and scroll through and
well, this is your time.
yeah.
So this isn't about all these other citizens are here and they can speak on their
But
own
each
behalf.
citizen that
One
speaks is for
second.
each citizen,
One
for
second.
each other.
1 second. So each citizen here will have a moment to speak and can voice and speak up for themselves. Your 5 minutes is for you to communicate how you feel about this budget, whether you agree with it, whether you do not agree with it, any options you think that we should take to maybe rebalance it. This moment is for you. It's not for the mayor. It's not for me. It's not for any council member up here. It's for you to voice your opinion.
I
That's
agree
what
with
the-
you. And
that's what
my
the-
feeling is
one
that I feel the
second.
mayor to speak.
Point of order, Mr. President. Again, point of
All right.
order. Point of order.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Councilman Herring.
We are now at 7:30, and we need to go
Yeah.
into our regular meeting, so.
If, Mr. Cross, respectfully, if you do not have an opinion on the budget or the constant yield rate, then I'll respectfully ask for you to take your seat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello?
Whoever's online, could you please mute yourself? If you raise your virtual hand, you'll be in the queue in line, and I will call on you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? I see your hand, and so you'll go after this gentleman right here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Deion Jones from Ward 3. Very good evening to Madam Mayor, the council, council clerk, chief, all the directors and everyone else, and the treasurer and the citizens of Glenarden. I agree with the increase. I support our citizens of Glenarden. I support our senior citizens, which most of them are my relatives here in the city, as well as I support the police department. We need a new police station. And from the certain types of citizens that's moving in Glenarden, you need 3 cells with that police department. And also I support Mr. Green as well from code enforcement. He needs more officers and everything else because it's getting rough out there. With you having some people who's moving into the city who have chickens and different other things and doing other roosters and different other things. So he's just one, maybe, and I think he got a small staff. He needs more people to come and help out on his staff. But as far as long as we're getting the services that we're continuing to get the services that we need, then I'm good with it. Okay, but our senior citizens, I know there's help being a big advocate. There's help with the county and different other things as far as property taxes and where they can go. In Baltimore, different other things, so I do have those resources as well. And maybe I can relay that to you if y'all don't know what not, so y'all can pass it out to the senior citizens that they will help them pay their property tax. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Miss Brittany online. I'm sorry, Brittany, you're next. I have someone in the room who had their hand up first. Ms. Crutchfield.
Point of order, Mr. President. We actually have people sitting online on the other link. It's
Okay.
a separate link. So.
All right, so we'll do 2 more comments and then we'll switch to a special regular session.
Good evening. My name is Sanella Crutchfield. I listened to Richard Montgomery, and he mentioned about the rebate. I heard you explain, Council President, about the rebate, and I would like for the mayor. I want to hear, because since you brought it up, I was not aware of it. Now I want to hear about this, why you all decided, why she decided, or why was the increase, or she said wait for the increase. I'm just curious. I don't know anything about it. I just want to know now, as well as Richard, because I know you all might be saying because of the times we're in, we need to do increase in this, that, and the third. But think about our pockets. Our HOAs are going up. Our everything, I mean, and then you're going to increase our taxes? Are they trying to push us out of Prince George's County? What is really going on here? And I want to know. I need to know as a citizen of Prince George's County or Glenarden before I retire, so I would know I need to move, or what do I need to do? That's all I'm asking.
Thank you. So to your comment, and I get it. And this council did not deliberate. Again, as Councilmember Herring said, it went from the mayor's budget to our budget now, so it's up to us to explain it. And the council didn't come to this decision lightly. As I said before, it was an opportunity for us to balance things. So we did not take into consideration, because we do not know what's going on in different HOAs in the city, because that's personal in your HOA. What we did was we wanted to see, one, what was in our surplus, two, what were the needs of the city, and what the appropriate tax rate should be, and how we will balance that. And in conjunction with the administration and speaking with the administration and all that we have to do in the city, it was determined that we will balance it by slightly taking up the tax rate and also taking from our surplus, so that not one side is getting hit hard. Now, the rate before had us hitting our surplus a little bit harder than we wanted to. I think it was to the tune of approximately about $500,000, which would not have been prudent to take from basically the future, when we can make a balance adjustment now, because we've only been 5-6 months in under the new administration, and we don't know what is to come. So to just tax heavy the surplus would not have been the best approach. And so what we did was, in our opinion, a balanced approach by taking it to 39%. Now, mind you, it was, what was the percentage before? 30.3338. So the assessments, again, are on every $100 of the value of your home. So for every $100, there is the 0.394%. So it's not directly on each dollar. It's whatever the value of your home is divided by 100 times the rate. I did that earlier on a house that cost $800,000, and for the year that's $300. Now you can take that same rate for, I can just do it real quickly. 1 second. $300,000 home divided by 100 times 0.3947 would be $1,184. And on the previous rate, last year's rate, it would have been $1,001. So roughly around $200 increase for the year for a $300,000 home. We understand that even though it's $200 and $300, that is a lot of money. Breaking it down by the month, it breaks down a little bit less than that. But we thought that the balanced approach of taking from our surplus and increasing the tax rate was appropriate.
So in other words, you're saying it's needed. There's no way around it.
There's no way around it. There's nothing coming from, there's very little coming from the federal level. There's very little coming from the state level. And the cost of everything is increasing. So if you can imagine, if the cost of what we pay for increases, at some point, we're going to have to do something, whether it be take from our surplus, which we are doing, or increase our tax rate, which we are doing. We decided on a balanced approach instead of doing one or the other.
Okay, I heard you. Of course, I'm not totally satisfied, but I know, you have to, it is what it is. However, if we continue to increase, Black folks are not going to live in Glenarden. Let's just keep that in mind.
I understand.
That's just something on the table.
But I also want to know that we have not increased. This is is this the first increase?
Since 2022, we have gone down.
3 years, each year we have.
Okay. So what I could tell you is that 2021 we had a rate of 0.3579. Then in 22 we went down to 0.3481. Then 23 we went to the 0.3338. So since 2023 we have been at that rate, the 0.3338. So from 2023 to 2025, we have been at that rate.
Is your mic on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there a different link for the? Okay.
Did you mean?
And did you already switch over?
Not yet, until this is over.
I wish we would have kept the same link.
I wasn't able to.
Yeah, 1 second, Councilwoman Fareed.
I just
Use
wanted,
your mic, please.
I just wanted to make note of the fact that the agenda for the special regular meeting that is posted online is the same agenda as the public hearing. So citizens who are online looking for that information would not know what the agenda is for this special regular meeting.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. One moment. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to come to you on the special regular meeting, Ms. Wilson.
Point of order, Mr. President. At the special regular meeting, we do have citizens' comments.
Yeah. So what we can do is we'll amend the special regular meeting to continue this discussion, so we can accept your comment. At this point, because the special regular meeting it's supposed to start about 14 minutes ago, so we're going to switch over to that portion, and we'll rearrange the agenda to give citizens more time to speak on the budget. Okay? All right, for citizens online, so unfortunately, the link for the special regular meeting is different. So we will have to close out this public hearing meeting once I adjourn, and then you will have to click on the special regular meeting. I wish it was different. Unfortunately, it's not. But if you can please do that and join the other link on the special regular session, we will start that momentarily. With that, the time is 7:44, and the public hearing is now adjourned. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The time is 7:52. I'd like to call this special regular meeting to order. Councilwoman Jones, could you do the invocation, please?
Certainly. Our eternal God, our Father, we thank you so much for your loving kindness and your tender mercies on this day. We thank you, Father, for how you blessed us and watched over us and continue to care for us. We ask you, Father, in the name of Jesus, to be in the midst of this meeting. Bring wisdom, bring understanding, bring clarity in all areas that the citizens of this city need to understand how this government operates. We thank you for our mayor. We thank you for the council. We thank you for the administration. We thank you for the workers, Lord, that work in the city to keep it functioning. We thank you for each and every citizen, oh God, and we continue to ask you to bless each and every household, but put a covering over them, Father, and move by your Spirit. It is by your grace that we have everything we need and that we are sufficient in what we need. It is in Jesus' name that I pray and ask and say thank you and amen.
Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please?
Councilman Fareed?
Here.
Councilwoman Guillaume? Here. Councilman Hairston? Councilman Herring?
Here.
Councilwoman Jones?
Here.
Council Vice President Ferguson?
Here.
And Council President Curtis.
Here. Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Council President?
Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I would like to make a point of order. Ordinance 10, 2025 is being reintroduced in the same form in which it was introduced already. That ordinance has already been voted on and has failed. And according to Robert's Rules of Order, Section 38, verse 1 and 2, an ordinance cannot be reintroduced in substantially the same form in the same session unless a motion is made by someone on the side that prevailed, so in this case, the losing side, during that meeting. And that was not done. Therefore, this ordinance should not be on the agenda.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fareed, is there, and so you're moving that it be removed from the agenda?
I am.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Herring?
So I just want the citizens to know what this ordinance actually does. This ordinance would actually, this amendment would actually allow you to park your personal pickup trucks and vehicles on the street. So that's coming off the agenda, so now you will not be able to park your personal vehicles, your personal pickups, and your personal vans on the street. I just want to make it clear what's going on here. Thank you.
Excuse me, point of order, Council President.
One second. Point of order. So I also, so I want to make a motion that we actually keep this as a topic of discussion.
Thank you.
So that we can come to a solution. What Councilwoman Fareed referenced was a procedural regulation that does not allow us to vote on this ordinance in this session. It does not preclude us from discussing it and coming up with a happy medium by which we can rectify some of the concerns of citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to ask that we at the very least put this as a topic of discussion, so that we can discuss it here on the floor, because I believe there are some ideas of how we can make this work for everybody.
Right.
Another thing I would like to add or just rearrange on the agenda is moving citizens' comments from the end to the beginning so that your voices can be heard about everything on the agenda, and then we can go to voting.
Mm-hmm.
So the way the amended agenda is, I'm sorry.
I have another amendment. If we can move the topic of discussion up so that we can go right into talking about.
Oh, okay. All right, so you want to move the topic of discussion above the voting so that we can address the concerns?
Before the citizens' comments.
Point of order, Mr. President. This is getting very confusing. My thing is this. We've discussed this over and over again. I'm bringing I'm bringing a solution to the problem, because the only solution to this problem is to allow people to park their personal pickups and vans on the street. I don't know where we're going to go with this. I don't know why we need to sit here and have a topic of discussion when we've already had topics of discussion. If this council doesn't want to support allowing the citizens to park on the street, there's really nothing to talk about, really. My suggestion. Well, I'll make my suggestion after we move on.
Okay. Thank you.
If we could finish the motion out, because I do think it's important to talk about, I did talk with council president about a proposal, and I would like for that to be discussed before the citizens give their comments so that they can give commentary on that potential proposal, as well as the council being able to consider that as well. So that's why I'm asking for the topic of discussion to be moved up.
Would it be helpful just to communicate what the proposal is and then allow citizens to comment on everything that's on the docket?
Sure. Do you want me to do that right now? Or we need to finish the motion?
One second. I can only recognize one point of order at a time. And the first one I heard was Vice President Ferguson's.
Okay, so I understand is that we were going to continue the discussion from the previous meeting in this one.
Correct.
I think former Councilwoman Wilson had something to say in that previous meeting. So if we continue this conversation, we're going to be on this. I think we need to recognize those that had comments that pertains to the last meeting. Thank you, Council President.
Then
Yes, Mr. President, I think this is very confusing. We're going to have another work session on the floor. My thing is this: if Councilwoman Fareed had a solution, she should have brought that solution at the work session. She should have brought the solution at the public hearing. Now she want to come with a solution that really is not a solution, because my thing is this: I don't care what you come with. People should be able to park their personal vans and their personal pickups on the street. So what I would like to do is I would like to let's move on. Let's just move on, because then I'll make it later. I'll make a motion later.
All right.
Because this is getting confusing. I think it's misleading the citizens, because again, it bothers me when people put things in place as I call friendship legislation, and this is what you get. Because again, once again, the citizens have a right to park their vehicles on the street. They have a right to park their personal pickups, their personal vans on the street. We've heard from a number of citizens on this. I think at least 3 meetings. And now we're getting ready, and it was over 3 months, and now, Councilwoman Fareed, you want to come with a solution in the 11th hour when you're walking off the dais on Monday. So I'm not understanding this whole thing.
Well, you would if we were able to discuss it.
Because I would defer, because it's my piece of legislation, that I can bring it up in the new session. So I would like to bring it up in the new section on Monday, so that we can vote on it and see if we can get it through. Because I'm really tired of going back and forth with this, because especially when it doesn't affect certain people who's bringing a piece of legislation. You know, my thing again is that if you lived in the area, you would know what's going on in the area. You know how it affected people that's in that community. And I don't think it's fair or right or just to sit there and require people that you're going to allow people to put a commercial vehicle in the driveway and put their tell them they can't put their personal vehicles on the street. It makes no sense. So, thank you.
Okay, so, and you don't have anything, right? All right.
I did want to say this.
All right.
I do want to say this.
All right, we'll go to the last comment to Ms. Jones, and then we'll close the motion, vote on the agenda, and move forward.
Yes, Council President, I just want to say my hands were up.
I'm sorry. Then I'll go to Jones, and then Councilman Guillaume, and then we will vote on the agenda and move forward. Councilman Jones?
Thank you. After reading the attorney's opinion today concerning bringing the motion, I understand why we cannot do it tonight. But I'm asking this council, and even the new council that's coming on board on Monday, to please, let's construct something that will be able to address this issue and bring closure to it. Just because we can't bring it to the floor tonight, we can reconstruct it, do whatever, the renewal or whatever he says that we can do legally, and then bring the resolution back to the floor, and then have all of the, to encompass all of what the citizens might want, and then what we can do legally. That's all I'm asking this council to do, and
Okay.
so that we can move forward.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. And Councilwoman Guillaume.
I actually agree with Councilwoman Jones as far as we need to come up with a compromise, no, excuse me, a way to handle this because so many people are being impacted. I did want to just have a point of clarification. Council President, I heard what Council Member Fareed mentioned, and then what you then said was you wanted to still keep it on. Did you say you wanted to keep it on as a topic of discussion, or did you say you still wanted to keep it on the agenda as it was proposed?
As legally and procedurally, we cannot vote on it tonight.
Okay.
So with that, was that all, Councilwoman Guillaume?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So when you say we cannot vote on it tonight, we're saying that we cannot vote to bring it on the agenda, or we cannot vote to pass, as far as if we say, okay, this is a legislation that we support or not, yay or no.
Legislation in its current form, we cannot vote on.
Okay.
It can't be brought on the agenda.
I'm sorry?
It can't be included on the agenda.
It cannot be included on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So with that being said, the amended agenda is as follows. Ordinance 10 is removed, and we're rearranging citizens' comments to be at the front, and adding a topic of discussion not to be before Ms. Wilson, to elaborate on the proposed solution for what is being removed. All right. With that, yeah, can you just do a voice vote, Council Clerk, to accept the amended agenda?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
We should not be having a work session on the floor. If we want to discuss this, we need to discuss this at a work session and not hold up people's time going over this. If it was a discussion to be had, it should have been had 3 months ago, or over the last 3 months when we were talking about this. Now all of a sudden the solution is on the floor. So no.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes, not only because there's a solution, but there's citizens here that want to voice their opinion, and I'm for yes.
all right, Council Vice President,
Abstain.
and Council President.
Yes.
Point of order, Mr. President, since we voted on the agenda. I would like to make a motion to rescind ordinance 004-2025. There's too much confusion, there's too much back and forth. If we rescind it, it would act like it's never been enacted, and then we can take it fresh and decide what we're gonna do. So I'd like to make a motion to rescind this ordinance, 004-2025.
Order, please. This is when I need my gavel.
I got one in the truck.
It is not on the agenda.
Mr. President, it does not have to be on the agenda. I can make a motion at any time during this meeting, and I made a motion.
But it
and
can't.
It does not have to be on the agenda. I can
No,
make a motion.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that a law cannot be rescinded by.
Any action can be rescinded.
No. I'm talking about. Well, I have to get clarity on that from attorney.
That ordinance can be rescinded.
I know that there's going to be a disagreement, which is why I'm saying that.
And why I say it can be rescinded, because we already put a moratorium on it. So it is not being, it is not being enforced.
So I understand. So how about, can we just table that and allow the citizens who want to talk about the budget to go first, because I think Ms. Wilson has been waiting for quite some time.
Well, I didn't deviate from the budget. You deferred to Councilwoman Fareed, and she didn't want to change the whole budget around, obviously.
All right.
If we did what you originally said, we wouldn't be in this situation. But my motion is still on the floor.
We are here, and so respectfully, I'll ask that we get some clarity from the attorney on the motion that you have on the floor so that we can proceed accordingly. So that so I don't say yes or no without any authority on.
No, because I'm going to tell you why, Mr. President, because y'all went behind my back to get the attorney's opinion on this. Instead of saying, Councilman Harris, I'm going to go get a legal opinion on this, y'all went behind my back and did it. And then bring it to the floor on the day of and tell me, oh, it can't be done. And you send an email out saying it can't be done because we talked to the attorney, which I'm still surprised how quick he get back to y'all when y'all have something, but when I do something, it's like forever. But anyway, again, I think that it's too much confusion and it can be rescinded. It hasn't been acted on. We put a moratorium on it and it has not been enforced at all. So it can be done as long as it hasn't been acted on. No fines have been written or anything else on that. So we need to rescind it. And I'm just saying, again, this is too confusing. We're going to sit here and discuss this because I'm bringing this same thing back on Monday in the new session. So if I got 5 votes on that day, why are we going to sit here and have them go through all of this back and forth and try to satisfy a council member who's not even running for re-election, who's not even going to be on the council come Monday? I'm not understanding why we're going through this whole rigmarole. It makes no sense.
That is fine, and I understand that council members may not be pleased with the legal opinion or being removed or the process, but I would like to move forward with one part that we all agree should proceed, which is the budget. Now, I have 2 comments, and then we'll move forward. I saw Councilwoman Guillaume's hand first, and then I'll go to Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just wanted to do a point of clarification that did we finish out the motion? I know that we were amending the agenda, and then after that, we got a point of clarification, a point of order to rescind an ordinance, but did we finish out the very first vote as far as the agenda is concerned?
An agenda was approved.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to be clear.
Councilwoman Fareed? No? All right. Okay, so we will.
I have a motion on the floor. You need to ask for a second.
Is there?
I second it. We'll go to second.
I'm asking.
If we're going to talk about everything and work everything out, let's just work everything out and talk about everything. So I'm going to second it. We might as well put everything on the floor if it's what we're going to do. We might as well go through it all if that's the case.
No, I agree, Councilman Hairston. My only question is the correct procedure in doing this. If we passed an ordinance, right, and it had to go to a work session, it had to go to a public hearing, and then we had to vote on it, I'm not too sure that a law that was passed that we could just up and motion it in one meeting and rescind the entire law all in one moment. That is my question. I'm not saying that Councilman Herron is wrong. I just want to verify that we're doing the correct thing before we get ourselves into legal trouble about a law that's enacted now, only to shoot ourselves in the foot because we did something wrong procedure-wise.
Mr. President, may I?
So do you want to pause on the whole thing and just revisit it on Monday then? I feel like I'll be talking about any of it then.
We can't, but the citizens can still talk about it. We're not saying that citizens can't talk about it. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be up to Mr. Councilman Herron if he wants to revisit it on Monday.
Mr. President?
Yes.
This selective amnesia is really starting to get to me because we did the exact same thing to the Gold Room resolution. It was rescinded a couple of years back on the floor and it was rules and regulations that was put out there and it was rescinded. And I remember when it was rescinded. And it went right back to 2012 rules and regulations. We had passed them in 2021 and they were rescinded back to 2012. So legislation can be rescinded, and that was rescinded.
Councilwoman Jones.
Thank you. The Gold Room resolution was rescinded because I got legal sufficiency from the attorney to ensure that that procedure that I was doing for that was done correctly, and that was a resolution. This is an ordinance. It's also been mentioned that this ordinance was given a moratorium. I don't recall, and when I go back and look at the meeting when that came up, I don't recall a quorum saying that we're going to go into a moratorium for that particular law. So I think before we go forward, move anywhere forward, we need to get legal sufficiency from our attorney to find out whether, in what direction we can go, since we do not have a parliamentarian on this board yet. Thank you, Council President.
Okay, with that, we'll table the motion, and we'll move forward.
You'll table whose motion?
Is there a second?
You can't table my motion. I had a second. You got to take the vote.
Can we take a recess and call the...
Councilman Herring.
Mr. President, if you know what I'm really getting signed up, you're picking and choosing when you want to follow Robert's rules. As long as I got a motion and a second, you need to take the vote.
And so-
now, if there's an issue, if there's a legal issue, then you can take it to the attorney after we vote, and you say the motion that we did was not in effect. But right now, I have a motion on the floor and a second. So we need to move forward with this. You cannot sit there and stop me from. Basically, it looks like you're just trying to stop me from doing what I want to do. Councilwoman Fareed does not support this legislation, and she's been doing everything she can to keep it from moving forward. That's how we got to this point.
That is not true, and
That's
that
how
is
we got to this
why.
point.
Point of order.
That's how we got to
Point
this
of order.
point. I have the floor.
Point of order. Point of order.
I
Council
have the
President,
floor.
we are debating this.
I have the floor, Mr.
Council-
President.
Point of
Point of
order.
order.
We are debating this.
I have
not
the floor,
debating
Mr. President, and she's still making the comments.
She has a point of order, Councilman Herring.
Are you recognizing a point of order, or are you going to let her continue to speak?
Well, I cannot recognize it if you're yelling.
I'm not
Point of-
yelling.
You're
Yet.
You're cutting me off.
I'm getting there.
Councilman Herring, a point of order trumps everything. It's incumbent upon the chair to recognize the point of order. So with that, I recognize Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you, Council President. We are debating and making comments instead of taking action on the motion. If we're going to take action on the motion, let's take action on the motion. If we're going to discuss it, discuss this particular ordinance, the ordinance has already been passed, and let's discuss that. But we should not be within a motion making comments and then not allowing for the discussion around that.
Okay, let's just move forward with the motion. There was a motion on the floor, whether it's legal or not, by Councilman Herring. Councilman Herring. It was seconded by Councilmember Hairston. Move forward, Council Clerk, and then we'll decide whether it's procedurally correct or incorrect.
Councilwoman Fareed?
It is in fact not procedurally correct to rescind an ordinance, which is a law. There's a process to go through that this city follows as spelled out in our charter for passing ordinances and overriding them via veto, and then what the process is. There is no process in our charter that allows for a rescinding of a standing law without proper process. While there are people here in the room that have, that may be feeling that they want to do what Mr. Herring is doing, there is more in this ordinance than just that portion around the personal vehicles. And those other portions would be removed altogether, which would then place us in violation of the county law that we would now be not enforcing. So for us to do this on the floor without a proper resolution or an ordinance that is going through the proper procedure of being worked through, hearing public comment, and being voted on is improper. So my vote is no.
Councilwoman Guillaume?
Since I don't know what the legal sufficiency is, for now, I am voting yes.
Okay. Councilman Hairston?
Yes.
Councilman Herring?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones?
My answer is no, because we need legal sufficiency.
Council Vice President Ferguson?
While we're waiting on legal sufficiency, I would say yes.
Okay, and Council President?
And I abstain. So I believe the yes has it. Yes have it. Yeah. And then we'll check on the. Okay. And then we'll check on where we go from there. What I will say that, as I said to the citizens who came to speak, I know council members are passionate about this, and just knowing that our citizens deserve to be heard and deserve to hear your opinions on it, I respectfully ask for each council member to not make it personal, to voice their concern, but do so in a professional way, and that we be professional on this dais. That if there's a point of order, that that we all allow that point of order to be heard, and we don't overtalk people, because our citizens deserve that much. So with that, the motion passes. And we're going to go with citizens' comments. Citizens, you're able to comment on both the budget and the parking. And we can go with that. And former councilwoman, Wilson, you are first up.
Oh, Lord, help us. Good evening, everybody. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You had people in here who wanted to talk about the ordinance to come forth. Well, first, let me tell you about the budget. And I need more than 5 minutes because everybody else in here talked for 5 minutes on the budget. So I need my time as well. You're talking on my time?
You won't have more than 5 minutes.
You're talking on my time. However, when I looked over the budget, I didn't see that many cuts on the budget. And I really think that some cuts should have been made. We have a program with the police department, whereas they take the cars home and come back to work with it. I think that program needs to be stopped because that's causing taxpayers money. We don't know how they're using their cars. I do know that they are using our cars, our police cars, for them to work part-time wherever their part-time is. And I think that program needs to stop because what that does is it increases us repairs, maintenance, it increases us paying gasoline. So that program needs to be stopped, and that would be a cut. There has been conversation about the gasoline that was used. Somebody needs to look into that because why are we paying out buku money on gas and then all of a sudden the gas stops? There's a problem with that. Okay. Or I should say the gas decreased, the increase decreased. Okay, so other thing is that every year we get police cars. I hope we're not getting any police cars this year. Now let me move on to my comments about the ordinance. The ordinance should have stayed because it is very apparent that Councilwoman Fareed does not care about the citizens here of Glenarden. It's very apparent. All Mr. Councilman Herring was trying to do was not totally get rid of the ordinance that she put out, but to make a correction because it's harming the citizens of Glenarden. It's harmful to them, and it's going to be harmful to the city because based upon people have come out here and said how it's wrong, we can't put our personal vehicles we can't park our personal vans on the street. We can't park our personal pickups on the street. But you're going to allow a commercial vehicle to park in the driveway. That's wrong. It's 100% wrong. We pay our taxes. Some of us have been living here for 30, 40, 50 years, even longer, and we can't even park our vehicles on the street. That's ridiculous. I have a van. You're saying I can't park, my van would have to be parked in the driveway, and my husband's car would have to be parked out on the street, and he's handicapped, and he'd have to walk from the house to the street when he might fall? That's ridiculous. You heard people come up here and say, that's an issue for me. But you're being heartless. You don't care about the people. And I think that there are a lot of things that needs to be changed. All he was looking for was a solution for people who had the issues with their personal vehicles not being able to park it on the street. But that had to be made a big issue. Let's not put it on the agenda. Let's not do this. Let's not do that. So you don't want people to talk about it. You all should be ashamed of yourselves, really ashamed of yourselves. And there, you can take the 51 seconds.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Sir?
You got it?
You good?
Do I need to put something out and just start talking? Okay.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Fareed, exit speak for a second.
Yes. So I understand the passion and the concern around this, and so I wanted to explain my perspective because it is certainly not that I do not care about the citizens of Glenarden.
Point of order, Mr. President. This is citizens' comments. Councilwoman Farida has explained her perspective
No, I have not.
over and over again.
One second, Councilwoman Fareed.
See, you see how it is when it's Councilman Herring?
No, if you listen to me, I said 1 second, Councilwoman Fareed, that you had a point of order.
As I said, she has given her perspective over and over again. We heard it at the work session. We heard it a number of times. This is citizens' comments. They've sat here long enough. Let the citizens speak. If she want to give her perspective, she can give it after citizens' comments. Can we please move forward? Thank you.
Thank you. I did recognize your point of order. However, since she was personally attacked in that she did not care about the city, I will allow her to respond to that, because that deserves a response.
Can I ask a question, Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
So is this going to be a 10 o'clock debate?
No.
Because if she's going to respond to everybody that come up here that criticizes her, we're going to be here all night long. And we're never even going to get to the vote on the budget.
Well, sir, if you allow her to respond, then that will be more time.
Okay, so just remember that when I want to respond, I want the same courtesy.
If Councilman Herring, if you are attacked or someone says that you don't care about the city, I will allow you to respond because I know how passionate you are about the city. Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you, Council President. In this particular ordinance, this section is being...
1 second, excuse me.
The section is being...
1 second. Gentlemen, if you would like to talk, I would respectfully ask that you speak outside. But if you're going to be in here, please be respectful of everyone who speaks, because if you're talking, I'm going to ask them to be respectful of you when you speak. All right? Thank you, sir. All right.
This particular section is looking to be amended is about the personal vehicles versus the work vehicles being parked on the street. The reason that you cannot say personal vehicles can be and work vehicles can't be of the same class, right? So we're talking about the same types of vehicles, is because that will lead to selective enforcement, and therefore it will not be upheld in a court. That is what happened with the previous ordinance that was in place regarding commercial vehicles. People who were getting citations were going to court and their things were being thrown out. So you cannot have it that a Ford F-150 that is being used for personal purposes can be parked on the street, but then say a Ford F-150 that's being used for work purposes cannot be parked on the street. You would not be able to differentiate which one is for work, which one is for personal, or which one is even for both. So you cannot repeal just the portion of it. You would either need to take out the entirety of that clause or keep it in as is. That is why I voted against it when this ordinance did come up do not forget that this ordinance is being reintroduced or being asked was already voted on and it failed. I was not the only person that voted against that ordinance. So with that said, in order to ensure that the overall ordinance is something that can be upheld in court, you need to ensure that it is justifiable and that it demonstrates that it is not being administered unequally to people. So if you are going to move forward with something like that, you would need to have the whole entirety of it out, which was the genesis of how we even got to the ordinance, where people were saying that these vehicles were obstructing their views because the streets are narrow and it is difficult to pass through. So that is why that particular portion was specified, that they would not be able to be parked on the street. And again, because you will not be able to differentiate, particularly because with the size of the signs, you can have someone's F-150 out there that's being used for work. You could have 7 of them. You could have a fleet of them out there like we have right now on Tyrol and Beth. When you drive down there, you cannot see anything. And none of those vehicles are marked or indicated as work vehicles. So if that portion were to remain in, those vehicles would still be there and we would not be addressing the issue, which was the genesis of why this resolution was put forward. The obstruction of the views and the safety of pedestrians. We have children in the city of Glenarden who walk to school in the street because there are no sidewalks. So those obstructions are a danger to them. This is not an attack on people personally or not allowing them to do it, but it would be extremely difficult to enforce and determine which are for personal use and which are for work purposes. So that is the rationale for why it should remain together. Either you completely take that portion out, or you have to keep it in there together, because the courts will not uphold saying that a van used for personal purposes can park, but one for work cannot. And so that is why this is happening. This has nothing to do with me not caring about the citizens, far from the truth. And that's what I'll have to say on that particular matter. Thank you.
Sir, if you just state your name and your ward. And speak in the mic, please.
I've been a resident of Glenarden for 59 years. I've been parking a truck in front of my house, a work truck, since 1983. My first instinct is to say, I'm not moving my truck, but I know I can't do that. But I've lived there all my life. I done worked out of the house all my life. I'm gonna work till I die. A lot of y'all don't know what that means. Okay? I don't have no savings. I don't have no 401k. I don't have none of that. Only thing I got is that van that sits in front of my house to take me to work every day. Y'all not taking that from me without a fight. Now, this ordinance is a law. Am I right? Okay, it say 2 different things. That's my problem. I don't know what she talking about. The part that he said, I think I understand. But the personal truck thing in the yard and all that, this thing say commercial vehicles. These vehicles don't have signs on them. You talked to me, Mr. President, and you said, look, man, you're going to be all right. Mm-hmm. Chief said, you're all right. Chief might be gone next month. You might be gone in 3-4 years. I'm going to still be there. So this needs to be done in a way that is fair to them little kids who also got to walk around all them Hondas and minivans and everything else on the street. Because I live on Cousins Drive around the corner from where she's talking about. So I don't like going around there either. It's rough around that corner. So I go in the other way now. The person who's been living in that neighborhood longer than anybody over there, except the families who came back, and Miss Curry, who known me since I was that big. Okay? It ain't gonna work. Y'all gotta clarify whether y'all gonna do the state law, which says I gotta go, or y'all gonna do your law, which says modify your truck, do this and do that, and you're gonna be all right. And then your code enforcement officer gotta know what y'all have done. The new code enforcement officer, because every time they change, the rules change. Not the rules here maybe, but their interpretation of the rules. Their interpretation is what puts that ticket in my window. Mm-hmm. Once that ticket hits my window, I can't bring it to you and say, man, what you gonna do about this? I gotta take off from work. I gotta pay the money because I don't have time to take off from work. You know how many $50, $100 tickets I pay all over the place? Because I ain't got time to go to court, miss a day's pay for a $50 ticket. So this is, when we say this ain't fair, what we saying is that, and for me, I ain't know nothing about it. I'm gonna be real honest. I ain't know nothing about it. But when we say this ain't fair, you taking the only thing I got to make money to pay them taxes that y'all want. Because I pay my taxes. You gonna tell me I can't be in the neighborhood at all? A neighborhood that, for a lot of people, didn't even know about it. I done lived here all my life. We call it the hood. It's a good hood, though. That's a comment to Mr. Hearn, because he got offended the other day when the young man called it the hood. It's a good hood. All right? Okay? Well, see, Mr. Hearn, I know you've been here a while, too, but you remember when it was rough. I'm going to change the subject for a minute, because I'm going to tell you my thoughts about that hood thing. It's the hood. I'm going to look around the room, make sure I can talk like I talk. It's the hood to the white man, because when the white man put Wegmans up there, he wouldn't let y'all call it Glenarden. You call it Atlanta. But the Glenarden police protect it. It's in Glenarden. That land, we used to hunt on that land in the 70s and 80s. We didn't even know it was Glenarden. It was in somebody's back pocket. Them folks came over here and said they was going to build that, came into this council and told this council that if y'all wanted to be Glenarden, we take our money and keep it moving. But if you named it Lanham, something that's on the other side of 50, back then when it was white, then we got you. You go past the gap, it say Lanham in the window. Copper Canyon, they changed their name because of that youth thing, how they boycott you online or whatever it is they do. Copper Canyon changed their name to Glenarden. Nike came in, knew better, didn't even pick that fight. Okay? So we get treated like the hood, even if we ain't the hood. Now back to these trucks. I don't know the solution. I know I'm willing to work with you, but I can't go nowhere. All right? This is not for me, for real.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, council and citizens of Glenarden. My name is Tucson Wallace. I live in Ward 3. I wasn't going to say anything, but then I heard what was going on, what was being talked about, and I totally agree with Mr. Herring, with Councilmember Herring. There should be, people should be able to park their personal vehicles in front of their homes. And I understand what you're saying too, because some vehicles do block the passage and block people's sight. However, when you talk about a pickup truck, and I think I said this the last time I was here, I have a pickup truck in front of my house. I also have a Chevy Tahoe, which is more cumbersome and larger than my pickup truck. But I can park that in front of my house, and it won't be in violation, which is much bigger. So where are we going with this? I don't think you can say, you differentiate what's commercial, what's not commercial, what's, a pickup truck from a Tahoe. What if somebody has a Hummer? That's not a pickup truck. Those are bigger than the pickup trucks. So who are you going to cite? I just need some clarity on that. I don't understand, I understand what you're asking, but what you're trying to enforce is not fair, because somebody can park a huge, like I said, a huge SUV in the same spot that a pickup truck is, and the pickup truck just can have an empty bed in the back, and you can see around it, but you can't see around that SUV. So can you give me some clarity on that? No, that's it for me.
Councilman Fareed.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And this is the type of conversation that would have been fruitful when we were hearing public comment before this particular ordinance was passed. The goal of what you're describing is what the aim was to address those vehicles. When we were receiving public comment, those types of vehicles were specifically called out, the pickup trucks and the vans. And so that is why that was put in, not because we were trying to single out or say that other bigger cars were not obstructions versus these. Those were called out in particular for that reason. And they were called out for the obstruction reason. So if the language would be clarified to maybe put inches or the size of the vehicle instead of a pickup truck or whatnot, all of that stuff is defensible. Again, my point is that as a legislator, it is our responsibility to ensure that the laws can be upheld, because while we may put whatever we want as codes, let's say, for example, someone who has a work van, let's just use a van, they get a citation and they see the same van on their street. They can then say that what the city of Glenarden is doing to them is not proper and sue the city of Glenarden, and then we would be at risk for that, right? So that's why it's to say, it's unenforceable to say this is being used for personal purposes or this is being used for work purposes, and that has not been upheld as rationale to enforce laws, the use of it, but more so when you can objectively distinguish whether it be class of vehicles. And so that's why in this ordinance we specify the classes of vehicles that are considered commercial vehicles, and the other types of vehicles that are not commercial vehicles but still used for work purposes are also defined by class of vehicle. And what I mean is like Class E, et cetera. And the definition of commercial vehicle that we have is the same definition as being used by the county, as well as the same definition being used by the state and also being used by the federal government in terms of what a commercial vehicle is. The previous ordinance that was put out that we were trying to find a compromise on actually was saying that none of those vehicles could be in the city. So none of the Class E.
None of what vehicles?
Any vehicle used for work purposes could not
Okay.
be in the city. So the pickups, the vans, none of those, all of those would have been deemed commercial vehicles and would have had to be out the city. So that
So if
ordinance
someone
would
had
have
to
been
take on
more
police
restrictive.
car, if someone had to take on police SUV, that is a commercial vehicle because it's used for work. So they couldn't park their take-home police vehicle there. And if you start talking about size of vehicles, you're going down a slippery slope because I'm probably everybody in this room or they know everybody on their street that has a size vehicle that is an SUV. And are we going to go after every SUV when you start talking about sizes? Because that doesn't make sense either, because most people have SUVs. Either they have cars or SUVs. And it's not fair, when you start talking about size, it's not fair to just single out pickup trucks because you're trying to stop people that have a commercial work trucks and using them for work that are blocking the view. I understand that, but it's just not fair. And I did my due diligence. I rode around Glenarden. I rode in all three wards, and I see what everybody's complaining about because it is a lot of work trucks that are just blocking the way and everything. But the thing is, you just can't say, well, you're blocking the street. Write them up for blocking the street. Don't write them up because they have a work vehicle or a pickup truck. Write them, have some type of notice of infraction for parking that type of vehicle, too close to the curb, or because no matter what you say, if you're parking a vehicle up on the curb, no, you're not going to be able to see around it. So ticket them, and for that, don't ticket someone because they have a certain vehicle. It doesn't make sense. Now, if it's a commercial vehicle, I'm pretty sure I could be wrong that a lot of commercial vehicles have it on the registration, and you can tell that it's registered as a commercial vehicle. And some people do have personal vehicles that they're using for commercial purposes. I get that, but it's like you can't paint us with a broad brush and go after everybody when everybody's not violating. So that's just not fair. That's it. I don't have anything else.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Good evening again. I'm Geneva Curry. I've lived in Fox Ridge. I built my house in Fox Ridge in 1960. At that time, we were, did I go off? Can you hear me?
He's just managing the volume.
Okay, at that time, we did not have public transportation, and we still don't have public transportation in Glenarden. And everybody had to have 2 cars. So
Now you're coming up and saying that we can only have 2 cars, but each house now has 3 bedrooms at least. And when I tried to make amends and talk to our code enforcement officer, I was told by one code enforcement officer I could put, after calling the county, that I could put pavers in. So I immediately started to put pavers in so that I could have my 2 cars. Then Officer Green came and said, no, you've got to have a permit. Today I went down to get a permit. I've been there all day, and they're telling me now I've got to have a survey to put pavers in my yard because I have an aunt coming who's in a wheelchair, and I have 2 cars, and I'm I'm in a quandary. I don't know what to do. So we're coming up with these weird ordinances and laws, whereas that senior citizens of Glenarden are just not protected anymore. A surveyor is going to cost me thousands of dollars. I live on a very limited budget, as many of the original citizens here in Glenarden live on. And we just, you're confusing us, and you're putting us in a quandary where we don't know what to do. Please, help me.
Thank you, Ms. Carey. I will look into that because I think that's unequal enforcement. I put pavers down and did not have a permit at all. I actually had a code enforcement stop by the house and saw me put down pavers and say that it was perfectly fine as long as we weren't pouring concrete or drilling. So
It's not concrete, it's just
pavers.
and gravel.
No, I did the exact same thing, and I did not get cited. So it's something that I'll have to look into because I do think that it should be equal across the board. Mr. Green, if you want to just speak on that real quick.
Good evening, everyone. As it relates to Ms. Curry and her situation, is that I wasn't the one who made the determination that her driveway, the pavers that she's putting down beside her driveway requires a permit. That was a DPI officer who specifically handles these type of permit situations. He actually came out and spoke with Ms. Curry and explained to her why she needed a permit for the pavers that she's putting down. In Prince George's County, if you do any repairs to your driveway, if you are extending it, if you are making the width longer, then that requires a permit according to DPI. Because your pavers that you're putting down, the way he explained it to me yesterday, because the pavers that you're putting down are connected to your driveway. Your driveway is here and you're laying the pavers right beside it. In essence, they consider that extending the width of your driveway because a vehicle will be able to park on that particular area. So again, but this is DPI law. So, and we follow DPI as it relates to that.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that DPI didn't stop me.
Mr. President, can I ask a question of Mr. Green while he's up there?
Yes.
So if she moves them over 3 feet, can she put her pavers down?
Probably so. I would want to check on that before I say something, specifically. If she was putting pavers down in the backyard or not beside the driveway, as long as it doesn't extend more than 150 feet, then to my knowledge, then you wouldn't need a permit for that.
As long as it doesn't extend 150 feet.
So if you,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. But I was going to say the same thing. Can you say that again, please?
So if you were placing the paver, let's say you just put them in your backyard and it's not near your driveway, as long as it doesn't extend more than 150 square feet, you don't need a permit for that. But so just for an example, I'll give you about a shed. If you're putting up a shed and it's not more than 150 square feet, you don't need a permit. But if you're putting up a shed and it's larger than 150 square feet, then you do need a permit. So it's the same thing with the pavers. So if you're putting pavers down, again, not connected to your driveway, but if you're putting pavers down, let's say just in your yard, your backyard, and it doesn't extend more than 150 square feet, you don't need a permit. But if it does, you will.
No, sir. I'm sorry. Your 5 minutes are up, but I'll be happy to speak with you afterwards. And when you speak right there, no one can hear you. So it's like we're speaking to ourselves because the people online cannot hear you.
Council President?
Yes, Councilwoman Guillaume.
I just wanted to make sure that people knew what DPI stands for, because oftentimes we speak in the land of acronyms and not every citizen knows what or who DPI is, what division, what department, what it is. So can we have Mr. Green please clarify what that is so everyone can know?
Yes, thank you. DPID is Prince George's County Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement.
So for the citizen who just spoke, Mr. Green, what you were saying is that was not the city of Glenarden, it was Prince George's County that actually came to her and cited her?
Yes, so he came and he didn't cite her, he didn't charge a fine, he just came out and explained to her, to the best of my knowledge, and what he told me was that he just explained to her that the work that she was doing required a permit, and explained to her why.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I missed it because I was getting a note. So that was the county, that wasn't us, correct?
Correct. That was DPI that came out and had the conversation, let her know that she would need a permit, Ms. Curry.
Okay. All right, thank you. So, Ms. Curry, I mean, it's unfortunately not equal enforcement because I did, my pavers are connected actually to my driveway. And I understand what people have been saying for the past few weeks, that it's just not evenly enforced. No one said anything to me. And I'm pretty sure no one said anything to my neighbor who did the exact same thing. I don't know what to say to you on that one. I would, I don't want to tell you what I would do because that might get you a fine. But I will tell you what I would do after the meeting. All right. Next.
Good evening, folks. Anthony, I live on Johnson Avenue. I can only respect laws because that's what us human beings need to do, is respect laws. If you have a pickup truck, you should be allowed to park in front of the street without any issues. I mean, it could be used for family vacations, going on trips. A pickup truck could mean anything. It's not just for work vehicles. So I'm against that. I'm against whatever law, whatever you're trying to pass. You know, that's I'm not with that. You know, we need our people to have trucks, vans, to be able to be parked up front without any issues. Yeah. So I have a commercial vehicle, but I also have a driveway, and I understand I can't park in front. I totally get that. But I have a driveway, and I could open my gate up. I could still back up the truck up even further. So my question to you, Mr. President, is there a law that I can't wrap my car up with magnets or a tarp or any so being? Is there a law? And I want a yes or no answer. If there's a law, cool. I can only respect that. But if it says I can't do that, cool. But if it doesn't say I can't do that, then it is what it is.
To my knowledge, there's not a law that says that you can or can't.
Cool.
Now, can you correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Green? Not the fluff. Is there a law that you can or cannot put a tarp on
Yes
your
or no
car?
answer.
I'm not asking that.
Yes or no.
I'm not asking. I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to be respectful of his question. Is there a law that says you can or cannot put a tarp on your car?
No, you're allowed to put a tarp
Thank you.
And I want to follow up.
Well, let
And
me
I also
finish.
want to follow up on this, but there is a law, there is a code in the codes where you cannot park your vehicle on grass.
I don't have grass. It's a whole driveway. Full driveway, concrete.
Go ahead, you have 2 minutes. and 40
And I
seconds.
could still park another big truck in front. After I close the gate, I could still park another vehicle in front of the driveway. So now what? Are y'all gonna jump the fence and open up the tarp? I mean, like, well, that's the next plan? I mean, that's why I wanted to know if there's a law that says I can't tarp my truck. Cool, but go back. If there's a law that states I can't, cool. But if it don't say yes or no answer, it is what it is. Right?
Thank you, sir. I cannot tell you what to do. You asked.
I
you
know
asked
that. I
me-
just want to know if there's a law. That's all. Because
You
that's
asked me
the
a
most
question,
important thing right now.
and the question was asked and answered. There is not a law.
Cool. That's all I need to know. Y'all have a good night.
I'm sorry, say that again?
That's what he be parking in the grass, but that's against the law. He wants to know if their law.
It's, yeah.
I just told him it's a code that says he can't park on the grass.
Sir? Oh,
Make a point of clarification.
point of clarification, go ahead.
Yes, a point of clarification. I'm not trying to pass anything. An ordinance has already been passed. I just happen to be the sponsor of it, and it was co-sponsored by 4 other council members. And it was voted on and passed by 6 out of the 7 council members.
One
The
second, sir.
ordinance to make the amendment was also brought forward and voted on, and that one did not pass. My sole vote is not the reason why it did not pass. I don't know why it didn't pass, but I'm not trying to pass a law, and I'm not trying to stop anything else from being passed. Both ordinances went through the full process and were voted on by the council.
Thank you. Sir?
Mr. President, can I?
Sure.
Because I brought it up. Actually, let's just say why it didn't pass, because 2 council members weren't there. She knows why it didn't pass. It was 5 council members, 3 voted for it, and 2 did not. So don't think that the full council was here and it was voted down. That's what happened. If we had 1 more council member, it probably would have passed. That's how it went down.
Council
Thank you.
President?
Okay, so last comment, and then we're going to get back to the citizens' comments.
Right. Councilman Herring also had the ability to table it if he did not feel he had the votes, and he could have brought it to the next meeting and it would have passed if he had the votes instead of going through all of this.
Thank you. Sir?
Good evening.
Good evening. If you could state your name and your ward.
Ernest Brennan. I believe I'm in Ward 3. I'm just a little confused. I kind of want to piggyback off what was said earlier by Mr. Wallace. I have a small pickup truck, and when I say a small pickup truck, it's a 1998 Chevy S10 pickup truck, and if anybody knows what that is, that's a small pickup truck. I also have a Infiniti QX60. It is a lot bigger than my pickup truck. Where I live in the Woodmore Town Center, we don't have any of these issues that I'm hearing about. We don't have a bunch of work trucks on the street. There are not a bunch of trucks blocking anybody's view. If people have a work truck, which I haven't seen any, it must be in a driveway, it's not on the street. And so I'm not understanding, why would I have to put a bigger truck on the street and put a smaller one in my driveway if the problem is trying to see around things and make things safer? In my neighborhood, we have school buses that come down. They don't have any issues getting through the neighborhood. We have FedEx trucks, Amazon trucks, the mail trucks. They all come through, and they have no issues getting through. The children in my neighborhood, they walk up the street to catch the bus up by the center. There are no problems. So I'm not understanding how did we get here? That's really troublesome to me. How did we really get here? And why are we implementing a ordinance that just doesn't make sense? And when I say that, I mean in the sense of what I said earlier. I have a SUV that is bigger than my pickup truck. So if we're talking about something blocking the view or making it unsafe, my SUV that you are saying I'm gonna have to, put on the street is going to be bigger and more cumbersome. So I would really like for someone to make sense out of that. Thank you.
Okay, how we got here. There was an ordinance that was put out that we were not able to pass for quite some time, and that ordinance was restricting all commercial vehicles. So any of the vans, et cetera, would have been restricted from the city. The majority of the council did not want to move forward with that because we felt like it was too stringent for those people in the city who do make their living by, landscaping or other businesses that require these commercial vehicles. So as a compromise, after hearing what the comments were from people who were wanting us to address those issues, their issues, and again, they use specific types of vehicles, the pickups and the vans, that were obstructing the views, particularly on the streets that are, you're asking me how it came, I'm telling you. The streets were narrow and their views were obstructed. So this particular ordinance was put together so that it was meant to be a compromise, which is, I think, why there were in total 5 council members who sponsored it. It restricted those commercial vehicles that, in accordance with the county and state, et cetera, would not be in the city and disturbing, what would be the residential kind of piece. Those would need to be parked outside of the city. But then there was a compromise for those vehicles that don't fall into the definition of commercial by the class, that would be allowed to still stay in the city, but they would need to be parked in the driveway and off the street. So that was what the genesis of the ordinance was and why we came up with that particular solution. In terms of it saying personal, whether it was used for personal use or work, again, that was because it would be impossible for us to say whether or not a particular vehicle was being used for work purposes or being used for personal purposes unless it was explicitly stated so. And in many cases, people can use both. So to prevent that of, this is a work or trying to figure that out, code enforcement would not be able to enforce that particular piece. So that piece was in there. We had discussion, we talked about that piece in particular. The commentary that you're making around the size of the vehicles, that is all very reasonable and I think should be reconsidered. That was not brought forward when we were deliberating and going through it. As a council, we decided that we were going to look at it. It was a topic of discussion and it was said, okay, an amendment is coming forward that will address the concerns. The amendment that came forward was to remove just the personal portion of that particular clause. So there wasn't an amendment to say, let's change it and not say pickup trucks or vans. The amendment that came forward was just to take out the personal portion. So that was not the expression as we were discussing it in terms of, well, what about SUVs, et cetera. That amendment went forward, had public comment, and it was voted on, and it did not prevail, and that is why we are here now. But this was all a genesis of many different things. I think that the commentary, again, made around the size of the vehicles and considering that was the nature of it. It was intended to prevent large vehicles from obstructing the street because they do. I also live in Woodmore Town Center. On Smithview, we've had numerous problems with cars being able to pass through just from passenger cars being parked on both sides of the streets because the streets are narrow. So we certainly have concerns and issues around public safety if an elderly person is in their home and the ambulance can't get through to them because cars are obstructing the street. So the issue of obstruction is a very real one.
What?
No.
One second. 1 second, sir.
Right.
What?
Right, Smithview is small. I'm talking about the entirety of the city.
Point of order. Point of order. As I said, yeah, I get that, people are passionate. No one can hear you online, and so the outbursts is one, it's a disruption, and two, no one can hear you online.
Right, and the laws that we pass are not for portions of the city. When we pass an ordinance, we can't say this does not apply to this street because of the size of the street. What the issue was that was brought forward was a very real, in my opinion, public safety concern around how will these vehicles traverse the streets if they're obstructed. Think about that. If a senior citizen is in their home and an ambulance is trying to get through and it can't get through. That is why the citizens were coming to us and complaining and asking us to do something about it. And that is what led for us to do something about it. You're saying no.
So point of order. No. So point of order. So I get it. I get that you disagree. I understand that you disagree, and we could talk about it later. But you've had your moment. I understand. But we are going to. Are you finished?
If there's no more questions for me, then yes, I'm finished. But I can only explain what happened. I'm giving the facts of what happened. You can go back to the meetings and hear this and hear the citizens that came forward and brought those complaints. These were not complaints that I created or said we need to do something about, absent of citizens coming and saying this is a problem and it needs to be addressed. So this was the attempt to address that. If it missed, that's understood. And there's opportunity to revise that and make it so that it is accommodating for the needs. But in so doing, you need to ensure that it's something that's enforceable as well. And I think trying to make a distinction between a personal and a work vehicle is going to be extremely difficult to enforce by code enforcement. So that's my opposition to that particular piece coming out, where it's just the single personal portion.
Mr. President.
Okay. One second, because there was Councilwoman Jones responding to the question. She's also responded to the question. I think Councilman Herring has something to respond to the question as well. And then after that, we'll move on to Mr. Cross.
So my response is just this. This is the kind of conversation we needed when we were putting this together. Now that we have these ideas, we hear not only because really how it started, it was two senior citizens that came up here and said that they were unable to get out of their driveway. But they live on a street that's Fisk Avenue, which is very narrow. And they have a lot of commercial vehicles on the street. But when we first did this, of course, it goes through a process where we have to have a work session and we have to have a public hearing. We have to do certain things, make sure at the regular meeting that your voices are heard. But we're just now hearing your voices. We're just now meeting you, Mr. White, the gentleman in the back. We're just now meeting you, and we're getting your opinion on your thought on what we need to do as a city in order to rectify the issue that we have with the parking. Thank you.
Councilman Harris?
Yeah, I just want to say this because I don't like information being put out there that's not accurate. This is how it all happened, so this is what it happened. I bought a piece of legislation. Originally, our charter said no commercial vehicles, and when we would go down to the courthouse, the judge would say, "Well, you don't have a weight standard in your charter, in your code." So I bought a piece of legislation saying, any vehicle over 6,000 pounds is going to be considered a commercial vehicle, and that's where it started. Council didn't agree with it. They wanted me to change it. I said no, because we need to get commercial vehicles out. And if you're going to allow some in it and allow in at a certain weight class, it's not going to be obtrusive to the other citizens. That's what happened. I would not bend. I would not yield. Councilwoman Fareed came and wrote up her legislation right now to address the issues, because she said she knows what's going on in the rest of the city. Now, that is exactly what happened. And if anybody want to look at the meeting, they can see, because I would not bend on it. And so, again, so that's how we got where we are now. Then when she bought her piece of legislation, I was like, no, I don't agree with it. And I think that, and I actually is my fault, because I should have read it, but I'm not thinking somebody's gonna put something in there that's gonna harm the citizens. Because basically, when I saw personal vehicles, I'm like, whoa, hold up. And why can't somebody, most people have pickup trucks now, and that's the end thing now. And they should be able to park it on the street. You know, people have vans, you have minivans, you have vans for people who with disabilities, you know. So I'm like, no, that should not be excluded. And so obviously that's something that they want. I don't understand the whole logic in it, because again, you're going to allow commercial vehicles to park in the driveway. You say you can't have we want to allow commercial vehicles in your driveway, but when you put your vehicle in the driveway, you can't put your pickup truck on the street. So now it's going to get ticketed. So they got to find some way to put their personal vehicle somewhere else. And there is no law in Prince George's County or Maryland that says you cannot put a van or a pickup truck on the street. There's no law whatsoever, and she's not going to pull one out of her hat to say it is. There's nothing. So that's something that we are doing specifically in Glenarden, which we should not be doing. Again, and she's talking about something that you can't enforce it. The county is very specific on what a commercial vehicle is. They talk about weight, they talk about lettering, and they talk about size. So that's spelled out in the county code. And her ordinance says that we will follow Prince George's County code. Nowhere in Prince George's County does it say you can't have your personal van or your personal pickup on the street. So that's why I'm saying you're being told information that's not accurate. You're given a story that's really selling you wolf tickets, because there's nothing that says, and she keeps on saying it's unenforceable. It's spelled out right clearly in the code. If you have a vehicle with lettering on it, the county would say it's commercial vehicle, no matter what the size is, because it says no vehicle with any lettering can be parked on residential property. If you don't have lettering in it, they're going to say it's your personal vehicle. If you don't have lettering on it, it's going to say it's your personal vehicle. Your van, no lettering, they're going to consider it your personal vehicle, because they're not going to sit there and try to figure out what's this and what's that. They're just saying we just don't want commercial vehicles in there. So if you're going to have them, this is the restriction, you know. So you can have one commercial vehicle in your driveway with lettering or whatever. One commercial vehicle in your driveway, but I think you can't even have lettering on that larger than 4 inches. So that's what I'm saying. You're being told not the truth. There's nothing in Maryland code or the county code that says you cannot park your vehicle on the street, your van or your pickup on the street. And like you say, some of these SUVs are way bigger than these pickups. So it makes no sense, and I really think it's really sad to try to salvage something that doesn't work, you know, and still hurt the people. And then you want to sit there and add this to the law and add this to the law and add this to the law. You're going to be so confused, you're not going to know what to park on the street. And then it's going to hamper our code enforcement department, because they got to make the justification. And then when they do it wrong, they're going to come up here, citizens are going to come here, they're going to fuss at them. I've seen council members go at them sometime because they're enforcing the law. So again, a simple fix is to take out those 3 letters, personal vehicles, including personal vehicles, out of this ordinance that we have here. But unfortunately, they got the attorney's opinion. I can't bring it back, you know. Got the attorney's opinion. I can't bring it. They just got another attorney's opinion. We can't rescind it. You see how quick they moving, right? Because I'm trying to say, let's not do the law until we figure all of this out. So, you know, that's what we're dealing with. So I'm saying, let's just wait till Monday when we get a new council on here who can look at it. And if we want to have another meeting on it, let's do that. Until then, let's not enforce it at all, you know, and let's move forward with this. I don't know why we're having this huge debate, because again, we're not going to come to a conclusion tonight. And on Monday, 2 council members getting sworn in. Are leaving the council because they didn't run for re-election, and 2 council members are coming on. We got 1 hour on Monday to handle old council business. So why are we going around with this when we should be saving it for the new council? That's what you should be asking, you know, and that's what you need to know. All of this that Councilwoman Fareed is saying is not true. It's not true. She's making this stuff up as she goes along. There's nothing. And I would ask her to go find the code that says that personal vehicles and vans cannot be parked on the streets in Prince George's County. And I guarantee you won't find it. Thank you.
Council President?
All right, so literally the last comment, and then Mr. Cross.
Yes, because that's patently false. The letter does not state that Prince George's County does not allow you to park on the street. It states what a commercial vehicle is as defined by Prince George's County. You may disagree with me, and that is totally fine. We do not have to agree with each other, but calling me a liar is just inappropriate. There is nothing that I have put forward that is not factually accurate. If you disagree with it, you can, but everything that I have put in there is researchable, that there's links to it so that you can go see for yourself what it says. How Prince George's County defines the commercial vehicles by class is what we are doing. As we have the right to, as a municipality, we can have additional restrictions. We cannot be less restrictive, but we can add additional restrictions. Again, I have no personal interest in telling people what they can or cannot do. The sole purpose of that particular portion of the legislation was discussed in a work session with council members. Every council member that signed on as a co-sponsor had the opportunity to read that as well. Nothing was hidden. The comments that are received now are very well received, and as Councilwoman Jones said, it would have been great to have this information now, but to portray me as someone who has single-handedly gone forward and tried to put something forward at the detriment of the city is just false. There were other council members who were involved with this, and at the time, they did not have a problem with it either, or it would not have been in there. They would not have sponsored it, they would not have co-sponsored it, and they would not have voted for it. So hearing these comments now is the right thing. The only reason why we're talking about this tonight is because it was on the agenda for tonight. As is exactly right. I will not be a council member next week, so I do not know why this could not wait until to be on the agenda for next week. Then I would have had no comment on it. But the fact that it was brought here is why it was addressed. If anybody has been paying attention to me for the last 4 years, I am a very procedure-driven person. The only reason why that ordinance I said could not be introduced is because if we do it now for something that you want, then it's for something that you don't want, that same thing is done, then it's going to be improper. It is important that we follow our procedures as outlined so that we do not end up in situations where our laws are being circumvented. If this had been even introduced as an emergency ordinance, that would have suspended all the rules. If we were able to take a motion and do away with the ordinance, that would have suspended all the rules as well. And think about that, citizens. If it was something that you wanted, apart from this commercial vehicles, and a different council, let's say, took that action to just go ahead and repeal laws by making motions, that is not how we work. In fact, the reason why we have our charter the way that we have it, where we have a work session to allow discussion and citizens to be able to ask comments in the public hearing a week later, and then a week later be able to vote on it. We do not take motions in a single meeting. And doing something like that, because it's something that you want to move forward, is not the right thing to do, because it will set a poor precedent for how we move forward going forward. I do not have an issue with this being modified. I do not own this particular piece of legislation. I have no skin in the game for it. I think what you all are saying are reasonable amendments, and those should be considered and made, but in the proper manner so that everything that we do in this city can be upheld. When you do things that are not proper, they are subject to be challenged. Any citizen could then turn around and say, this is improper, and bring us up to a court, to a judge, and say they are not following the proper law. So that is the reason why procedurally we must do what we are supposed to do. Again, I think that this should be amended to consider what you all are bringing forward, which was not part of the consideration. We were doing the deliberation and we were voting on the original ordinance.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. Mr. Cross.
Mario Cross, Ward 3. There was a lot you said, Councilman Fareed, but who were the other council members that was on that legislation that was backing you for approval of the original legislation of the vehicles? And one other thing, on the root cause of this, the root cause is obstruction of view. According to Councilwoman Jones, there was 2 citizens that came up that said they couldn't view, and now all of this came to fruition. Now, that has nothing to do with commercial vehicles or regular personal vehicles. It's about the view. So why hasn't there been anything came about making one side of a street, depending on the width of the street, is one side people can't park on at all, and then the other side people park on, and then that gives people a chance to get in and out of driveways, that give people space that they can move around, that they can see possibly, instead of just saying no commercial vehicles, because commercial vehicles doesn't have anything to do with this. It's about the view. Because if somebody's small, a Yugo can be blocked their view. It doesn't matter if it's an F-150, F-350, or if somebody's coming down the street with a fire truck, or if they're coming down the street with the Amazon truck. It depends on the vehicle. Commercial doesn't matter. I don't have a commercial vehicle. I'm just here to just let you know that commercial vehicles do not matter if they're on the street or in the driveway. It's the size of the vehicle in general. So it's the spacing issue. So certain streets inside the city should be strict that says that you cannot park on that side of the street. That would probably eliminate some of the things if they lose those little streets, because some of the streets are pretty big. Your street is pretty big, so that's fine. But some of the streets over in Ward 1 are pretty small, and people cannot park on both sides of those streets. Even with my small vehicle, I can't get through some of the streets sometimes. So on one side of the street, park, one side of the street not, in certain areas, not all over the whole city. And is there a difference also between homeowner association rules and the city rules? Because, we're in the same area. And who trumps who? I know there's different rules. We got large vehicles in our area. At one point we had boats. They're not there anymore, but we had different size vehicles in our area. We had commercial vehicles in our area on certain streets. I know you probably didn't see them, but it's a couple of them in our area. And what's the rule on that between homeowner association versus the city opinion on vehicles? Who trumps who?
Okay. Are you ready for me?
Oh,
okay.
Keeping it simple.
All right. So I wrote a few things down because it was a lot. All right. So back to the top of your comment of who voted for it. Councilwoman Fareed doesn't have to answer. I'll just come out and say that yes, my name is on it. The two people that came was the start. It wasn't necessarily just because two people came. It was the start. And this is what I've advocated for. I think you've heard me advocate for it. This is why it's important for citizens to come to make their voices heard, right? There's the argument on the other side. Those people came to make their voices heard. We waited for opposition, and we tried to craft something that was beneficial to everyone. As Councilmember Fareed says, sometimes things miss the spot. Well, you make mistakes. Lord knows I make mistakes. And so because only the other side came for this piece of legislation, most of the council, I think the only person who did not vote for it was Councilmember Herring. And so we all voted for it. 6 of the 7 members voted for it based on the complaints that were coming from the city and trying to do something that was right. Nothing was ill-intended. We crafted it. It came to a work session. It came to a public hearing. And there weren't too many people that come out to speak on it. And I'm happy that you guys are here. And I'm happy to hear the other side of the argument. And there are things that we can do to make it better. Like, you guys have valid arguments, as Councilman Fareed said. And now we can incorporate those to amend the ordinance. As Councilwoman Fareed also stated, it's not that she's against the changes. She's arguing for the correct procedure to be followed so that things can be done in decency and in order. So that was one. The other one was the other part that I wanted to talk about was just a difference. So there's a difference between just cars parked on the street and commercial. I think those are two different topics because at one point you could not have a commercial vehicle in the city at all. As this gentleman here personally, I'm against that. If I want to work, and Mr. Herring disagrees with me, and I respect that. But you can't tell me what I could park in my driveway or in front of my house. If I work, if I want to start a business and have a big chicken on the top of my truck, I want to be able to park that in my driveway. I know people disagree, but I don't think that I should be able to tell people what they can and cannot park on their property. That's just a personal opinion. But I know that there are laws, right? And some laws, in my opinion, don't make sense. Some laws do. And so for the laws that don't make sense, I think it's important for everybody to come to the table to highlight those laws and give, valuable feedback on how we can make things better that fit us in the city. Because what works here might not work in Seat Pleasant or some of the neighboring towns. But what we cannot do is trump county law. So those are two different. Commercial vehicles, according to the county, just cannot be in the city. And what we did was put a weight limit in there that said anything under 8,500 pounds, whether it's commercial or not, it can be in your driveway. So that's that. As it relates to the enforcement, and Mr. Green can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm only repeating what I asked the same question. I'm only repeating what I was told. So if I'm wrong, he can correct me. It is my understanding that this law governs basically city streets, that if you do live in an HOA, whether it be the Frost community or where do I live? Woodmore Town Center, that code enforcement has to have a memorandum of understanding with HOAs to come in and enforce those code infractions. It's my understanding that he said that currently that none of the HOAs have a memorandum of understanding to enforce Ordinance 4, Ordinance 10 if it passes on Monday, or anything else. So that is my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Green. Is that, if you come to, because so people online can hear you, if that is correct? And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just repeating what the code manager.
Yes, Council President, that is correct. So that's correct that the city does not, to the best of my knowledge, that's what I was told when I first hired, is that there is no MOU that's actually written and in place right now.
Okay. So does that answer your question, Mr. Cross?
Mr. President, can I follow up on that?
Yes, sir.
Actually, we do have an MOU with Glenarden Towns. So we do plow their streets. They signed an agreement with the city of Glenarden with a resolution that they put together. But also, Woodmore Town Center bylaws are very strict, which is what I wish we had in the city, because Woodmore Town Center bylaws say no commercial vehicles at all in Woodmore Town Center unless it's in your garage. So that's what I wish we had over here, but they're very strict, and that's what's enforced.
Who forced that?
No one.
The developer. I don't know who enforced it. That's on y'all.
Yeah,
that's on y'all right there. I don't know who enforces it. But I'm just saying that that's what the developer, when they created that's what the bylaw. That's what they put in the bylaws. So it's very strict. So yeah.
So does that answer your question? Yeah, and it's coming upon the HOA to enforce their bylaws. So if they're not enforcing it, that's a decision that particular HOA made.
I was telling Richard that y'all talking about.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I think I covered all of your questions.
The stripping idea on one side, one park on one side, not on the other side.
That I personally. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Reed would like to address that one.
I actually thought that was a fantastic idea. I brought that idea to a couple of council members because I'm from New York City and we do alternate side of the street parking for those types of purposes. But that was not something that the council wanted to consider. But this is why I think it's important, right, when we talk about what the possibilities are, is to discuss those in work sessions. I think what's been happening is that instead just the legislation is being brought forward instead of really talking and thinking about what's the best way to do it and then drafting a legislation based upon that.
I would like it.
Mr. President, may I follow up on that?
Yes. And then we'll go to this
There
gentleman
is
right
no
here.
way in the world you can do that on some of these other streets in Glenarden, that you can have parking on one side and the other. Not over in Ward 1 and Ward 2 or in Ward 3. The roads are narrow, there's too many cars, so then you're going to have people going to have to park somewhere else, park their regular cars outside the city. If they got to park on one side of the street, there's no way. See, the good thing about Woodmore is y'all have the luxury of having 4-car garages. When they built over here in the existing Glenarden, you got one driveway and that's it. And you had to add another driveway. But back then most people only had 2 cars. now most people have 3 or 4 cars. So, we don't have the luxury. And with the county putting stipulations on how much of your ground can be covered by a structure, which is only 33 1/3% of your property can be covered by a structure, including your shed, driveway, and house. It limits us to what we can put down and how much we can extend our driveways. So that's the problem there.
Thank you. Sir, if you state your name and ward.
Okay, Robert Holman, Ward 3. Good evening, council and fellow citizens of Glenarden. I came here and got more than I expected. I've been a resident of Glenarden for 35 years, first county meeting. Recently retired, so I saw the signs. I was like, I wanted to come see what was going on. I received the ordinance about the parking couple of months ago, and I was all for it because in my neighborhood, like I said, been there 35 years, people parked on the street. I have neighbors who are business owners and they park their vehicles, but I've seen here in the last year or two where they're not being good neighbors anymore. They're putting fleets of vehicles on the street. I take care of my yard, and I like to be able to look out my window and not see vehicles. I'm starting to see vehicles in front of my house. It's public street, so there's nothing I can do. People aren't being good neighbors anymore, So you have a line of cars in front of your house. Sometimes they're blocking the mailbox. And so they're not being good neighbors. If you got a driveway, I don't care about you parking your commercial vehicle in your driveway. Park it in your driveway. Park your personal vehicle in your driveway. But when you start infringing in my property, even though I don't own the street, but I take care of my yard better than most people in my neighborhood. And then when they're getting out their vehicle, if they got a water bottle, they may drop it. Hey, come pick up your water bottle. So I'm having to do that. I'm having to police them. And so if y'all talking about looking for a solution, and I think Councilman Herring, you said something about, hey, I don't have a problem with putting a commercial vehicle in your in the driveway. But if you got 5 vehicles and it's only 2 of you living there, that's your problem. That's that person's problem. If they have 3 commercial vehicles in the driveway and then they can't get their personal vehicles in there, that's their problem. So I was like, hey, whatever the council has to do, ticket them, tow them, I don't care. Because they're not being a good neighbor anymore. When you're infringing on what I do for mine, I pay taxes just like you. I have 2 cars, and they can fit in my driveway. I don't have a commercial vehicle, So, and like I said, I don't begrudge anyone their hustle. But when you start infringing on my property, and the street isn't my property, but when you start using the front of your house to park in, plus mine, you're not being a good neighbor. And so I don't have anything to say so far as what goes on with that. Now, I did want to come in here and, with the council, and I talked to Officer Green about a neighbor who used to be a council member who's taking advantage of turning his residence into a living apartment. And so now he has like 8 cars now that's infringing as well. But that'll be for a different time. But I've talked to you, Mr. Green, about that, yeah. So I'm not going to call his name out, and I'll talk to you afterwards. But, yeah, thank you.
Mr. President, may I address him on one issue?
Yes, sir.
What is your name, sir? What is your name again?
Yeah, Robert Holman.
Oh, Mr. Holman. Actually, I don't agree with commercial vehicles being in the driveway.
Okay. Right.
I believe they're taking up, because when you put a commercial vehicle in the driveway, you're putting a car on the street, which is what I'm trying to get is more cars off the street.
Okay.
So, put your vehicles in the driveway. That's why I supported no commercial vehicles, because again, this is not a commercial district. It's a residential district. Like you say, you spend a lot of money to maintain your homes. And so that's where we are now with this piece of legislation, because it allows them to put the commercial vehicle in the driveway. So that car is going to go on the street, and that's mean more cars on the street. So it really doesn't change what I was trying to do, was trying to eliminate commercial vehicles, get people off the street, and make the streets more passable and safe. So that's where I was with that. Unfortunately, some people prefer to have commercial vehicles in the city.
Councilman Harris.
Because it's their driveway and it's their property, and they should be able to do whatever they want to do. That's the statement that I'm hearing.
When the new council comes in, I'm starting to come to more meetings. I'm going to hold you to that so far as getting commercial vehicles out of the neighborhood.
I'll try.
All right.
Okay. What's that? Ms. Wilson, one question, please. That, you're right. You have, ma'am, you have one question. I will give you one question too.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I have a statement.
My question is just to help everybody else, because a lot has been said tonight, a lot of things was done, and I just want to know, where are we now, based upon the letters that went out into the neighborhood, saying that that was going to, that ordinance 04 was going to be enforced starting July the 1st. So from what I understand, was it rescinded, or just where are we, so that citizens will know what to expect? Because if it was rescinded, then I don't expect for Mr. Green to be out there doing his job of ticketing people whose personal vehicles are parked on the street. So where are we as of right now?
So, unfortunately, there will be a challenge to whether it was rescinded, because according to Robert's Rules of Order, you cannot motion to rescind a law. I know that will be challenged, but I will say that there is time, and that's why I want council to understand. And, you may be passionate one way or another, but there is time between now and the end of June to put together something that is, a robust compromise. Let me tell you, everyone is not going to be happy. There's no way for anything that we construct to please everyone. An idea that I have, and not just that I have, but an idea that I think would work, which may get accepted or may not, is that there's some combination with the RPP program where commercial work vehicles can either park in your driveway or on a street, but it still counts against the 2 parking passes you have for the street, which would take cars. For example, I think one house has like 7 cars. Well, you could park in your driveway all day, but you will only have 2 parking passes for anything that could be on the street. So let's say that person parks 2 of their trucks in their driveway. Well, then they can get parking passes for 2 additional trucks. Well, that means the other 3 trucks will have to be removed according to the RPP program. I think something in there is a compromise. I don't know. That's just a thought. I haven't shared it with most of the council, but I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to discuss it, and after hearing your feedback, come up with something that is hopefully a good compromise for everyone.
May I? One more thing. You spoke of having 2 or 3 cars in your driveway. Everybody does not have that availability.
Understand.
And I would like for the council to take that into consideration, that some of us only have a 1-car driveway.
Understand. And again, that was just an idea. I'm not saying that's the perfect fix. It was just something that I thought about today, and it may not make sense. But that's what you guys have elected the next council for us to come together, to think of solutions, incorporating what you guys have said here, and then bringing it back to you guys to show you what it is. You have another opinion on it, and then vote on it.
Okay.
So I encourage you over this next few weeks.
And just as the young lady over there, she agrees with me as far as the 1-car driveway, it will cost us buku dollars.
Understand.
To be in compliance with the law, because we would have to extend our driveways or either enlarge our driveways, and it's going to cost lots of money. We'd have to get permits from the county, permits from the city. And so I would like for the council to take that into consideration, that everybody is not wealthy enough to have a 2 and 3 and 4 car driveway. And we are, I don't know about this young lady, but I am retired and I am on a fixed income and I have a disabled husband. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I'm 87 years old, retired, and I am disabled. But at the same time, we've got to do something.
Something has to be
That'll
done.
help us old folks.
I agree.
Help us young people.
I agree.
Thank you.
I agree. All right.
So
honest.
Mr. President, Mayor. Oh, go
No,
ahead.
I was just going to say, honestly, as Councilman Herring stated, this is something that really the new council that will be coming in on Monday will take up, and I would be a proponent of just getting to work immediately to come up with a solution, because yes, so July 1st is the enforcement date, but we have time between now and then to either do something about it, so that there's something that's established that works for most.
I would just ask that you not leave the senior citizens, the young people here in, right, in the young people hanging.
Understood.
Because we do need to, don't take 4 years like you did.
No, ma'am. This is clearly something we should do.
Resolution.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Wilson, let me just tell you,
Yes.
you're going to be left hanging. Because I'm going to tell you this why. Because they're trying to do too much out of something simple. And when you try to do too much out of something simple, you make a bigger mess. So now we're talking about doing something different with the RPP program, which we're getting ready to try to launch. So that's going to be put on hold again, which has been put on hold for 2 years now? Yes. This is a simple fix. My piece of legislation is a simple fix, but everybody's trying to appease everybody else and don't want nobody to get their feelings hurt. And that's where the problem is, why your feelings get hurt because you can't park your vehicle. And that's what I'm saying. So again, you gotta, I'm not understanding, what is there to say? People have come up here and said they don't like this law. They want to be able to park their vehicles. Why do they have to compromise on what they put in their driveway versus what they put on the street? They pay for the street. Now there's a suggestion that you put 2 commercial vehicles in your driveway. And use the RPP program for something else. That's what happens when you just need to do a simple fix and see how that works. Do the simple fix, see how that works, and then you come back and say, okay, hey, you can park your cars on the your vans on the driveway, and you can park your trucks. You can park your vans in the street, and you can park your personal trucks in the street. And let's see where that goes from there. Also, no one else is looking at the fact that Glenarden has other laws that can actually help us. Because we have a law on the books that says you cannot park within 5 feet of somebody else's driveway. And that needs to be enforced. So if somebody is within 5 feet of your driveway, call the police. And they can be ticketed. So that's the way you work. You don't keep on changing the laws and modifying it. You work with what you got. And then you...
One second. 1 second. Point of order.
They if you call 911, they will be dispatched.
Point of order. Point of order.
Well, that's a cheap call. We ask citizens to call 911 so our officers can be dispatched. And I'm asking the chief. Is that correct, chief? Yes, sir. It doesn't matter what it is, right? That's right. Yeah, just call 911. Right. They'll dispatch them.
So listen. Point of order. Look, I again.
But
I understand.
Let me just finish before you.
I thought you finished.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, there's other laws on the books that can actually help this situation where you don't have to go change a whole law, to try to do this and change that. Work with what you got. Take those 3 words out of there. Let's see how it goes. Enforce and advertise the fact that you can't park within 5 feet of somebody's driveway. Now, some people don't mind it. That's fine. Don't call the police. But if you do have a problem with it, call the police. And the police have got to enforce it, and code enforcement has to enforce it. So, that's where we are. That's the solution I see, the simplest solution. So, that's where we are with this. So I'm just saying, because when you start jury rigging and cherry picking who can and who can't, you're going to have a big old mess. Thank you.
So, listen, I'm sorry, your time is up, Ms. Wilson.
Okay.
But I will say that I'm not as pessimistic as Councilman Herring. I think we can come to a resolution. Actually, I disagree with simple fixes and see how it works.
Okay.
Look how this has turned out. We thought it was a simple fix, and we saw how it works. It doesn't work. So I think that a robust conversation, us looking at everything and seeing, putting everything together is probably a better, and this is my opinion, it may not pass, it's probably a better approach than just trying to, do another simple fix. Because clearly we've heard a lot of opinions, some for, some against, some in the middle. So, thank you.
Mr. President, let me just make one comment.
I'm sorry. Councilman Herring.
You said.
So, point of order. Well, I just want to apologize to you that I should not have made that all, comment. I hear what you're saying, and I'm gonna give you the floor to say the last.
It's gonna be a quick one.
Okay.
It's gonna be a quick one. I'm telling you that because let me say this, because when you talk about a simple fix, my legislation was simple: the 6,000 pound weight limit, flat. That's it. 6,000 pound weight limit. Councilman Paris came back to fix that. And now that's why we're where we at now. That simple fix that I had now is a convoluted mess. And nobody can park on the street.
Well, let's fix it. We have a new council.
A simple fix does work if you enforce it, but then you try to fix my simple fix by trying to do something else and trying to appease other people and trying to appease everybody. And now who's suffering but the citizens?
All right. So we have to move on. So thank you,
And I think
Ms.
it
Wilson.
might be important for me to tell you this. My husband is prone to fall. My husband is prone to fall.
Understood, Ms. Wilson. Thank you. You will be our last comment, and we actually have to get to the legislation that's actually on the docket.
Look. Y'all said a lot, okay? Something new came up just now with this 5 feet from the driveway, because that is an issue. What we need is to know what's going to happen before it happens, okay? That's what we need. We need to know, and when I say that, this 2 weeks that we got before it's going to happen, that's not enough time for us to know what we're going to do. Because 2 weeks from now, when something happens, somebody got to make some adjustments. Signage, simple things. That's going to help. That 5 feet from the driveway, I need a sign in front of my house tomorrow. Okay, signage. My point is information to us. Let us know what's going on. I ain't know about this. I just happened to look through the mail and see that letter. And, to be honest, I don't open them too often. But the Lord told me to open that letter, okay? Because I would be a whole nother person if I had come outside and my truck was gone, let alone a ticket on it, all right? Because that's all I got, all right? So I'm going to leave it alone because, I'm not really the person to do this. But we need somebody to work with us. That 6,000 pounds, that 6,000 pounds kills us all.
Mr. President, I need to address one other thing that's very important because I'm telling you, technically, the law actually goes into effect today. There is not one vote or one piece of legislation that says this goes into effect July 1st. And I would like to see any council member that said we voted on that.
July 1st,
sir, let me say this. But see, that's what happens when things get sent out. The council didn't agree on.
Understand.
But the council didn't agree on that. Now I'm saying that. Hold on, Mr. President. Now we need to be out front and clear because there is not a piece of legislation. There's not a vote. There's nothing that said that piece of legislation goes into effect July 1st. We put a 90-day moratorium on enforcing that. As of January 12th, today, the 90 days are up, and that should be enforced. So what is the council going to do about that? Because that letter is absolutely wrong. So y'all done went to the attorney now, and for me, twice, to keep us from enforcing the law, to keep me from bringing the law that could solve the problem, but yet you created another problem because today is the day that law goes into effect. So how are you going to address that issue until July, because it can't go into effect July 1st. The letter went out with erroneous information in there, because the letter does say that our ordinance aligns with existing laws. There's no law in Prince George's County or Maryland that says you cannot park your personal van or pickup in the city. That's what this letter says. So I'm just saying, asking, how is that going to be fixed?
Councilman Herring, you said yourself that this will be picked up in a new council. We're wasting time going back and forth.
No, but because my thing is this. See, this is what really bothers me with council members, because you're going to pick and choose. You're running up a legal bill to get me, to keep me from moving forward with a piece of legislation that's going to help people, but yet this situation right now where you know that it expires today because you told me that. We discussed it. But the letter says July 1st. So who and when did this council say that we're going to extend it to July 1st? Now, my thing is, are we going to extend the moratorium? You know, because technically by law, we said June 12th would be the day, and it was stated at the last meeting that we broke the law when we did that. And we can't do a moratorium, but at what point can one council member send out a letter that says, okay, I'm going to say it's going to start on July 1st? So where is the legislation that's going to prove that and justify us not enforcing that law?
Councilwoman Fareed wants to comment, so I'll allow her to comment.
Thank you. When an ordinance is passed, it is effective immediately. Given the fact that there was much conversation around whether there was a moratorium or not a moratorium, I felt it was important to draft a letter to send to the citizens to let them know exactly what would be happening and when it would be happening. That letter was sent to the entirety of the council. Given the fact that that vote happened at the end of May, my perspective with it was that it was most prudent to give citizens notice, at least 30 days notice, and that's where the July 1st date comes in. The ordinance, the law is effective. It could be enforced right now. But as a decision to allow citizens to understand what was going on and then the date that it would be effective, that is why the letter was sent out. It was sent to the entire council for comment and review prior to it being sent out. There is nothing in that letter that is erroneous. If people have a different interpretation of and comprehension level, then that's not something that can be addressed by the fact that those things were specific. As it relates to the moratorium, you cannot take a consensus to override an existing law. You could make a motion if the law had not already passed. So, for example, if it was on the table to be voted on, there could have been a moratorium, a motion to say, we want to table this until a certain date. But once it was voted on and became effective, you cannot, in a meeting, take a consensus to override a law. Again, you may like that because you don't like this particular law, but think about how that plays out if it was something else. There is a proper procedure to go through in order to do that. Some in this room agree with the ordinance, some did not. There were people who did agree with it. If you take a moratorium, you take away those citizens' ability to come and say whether they agree or disagree with it. And even as Councilwoman Jones said, it wasn't actually a consensus even taken, so it wasn't even a proper motion done to place a moratorium on it. So that is why the moratorium, even being June 12th, that doesn't matter. The law became effective once it was voted on and passed and could have been enforced the next day. But instead, there was a communication sent with the grace to allow citizens to understand what they needed to do and by when, to give them time for that.
Mr. President, I'm going to follow up on that.
Councilman Herring, one second.
Mr. President, I really am tired of you picking and choosing who can filibuster and who
I am not. But citizens aren't up here to hear us going back and forth on things that's nothing's going to be resolved tonight. We have a budget to pass, and we're just playing tennis with this subject.
Mr. President, see, this is what I'm really getting frustrated with, because you pick and choose when you want to follow the law.
That is
now,
false.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed, for proving my point, because you said
point of order.
Once the law is in place,
point of order.
Once
Point
the
of
law is
order.
in place,
Councilman Herring.
it cannot be changed.
Councilman Herring, point of order. We're not going to go up here and argue this point. We are moving on. We're moving on.
So basically,
we're
you're
moving
picking
on.
and choosing.
Point of order, Councilman Harry.
Robert's rules say every council member gets free deliberation time, get the same deliberation time. And that's Robert's rules. So now you're saying you're not behind by Robert's rules.
No, you guys have exhausted your deliberation time.
No.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed exhausted her deliberation time because I think she spoke for at least an hour.
Councilman Herring, I will ask for the good of the public that we move on. I understand. Councilman Herring, Councilman Herring, that is not true. I allowed you to speak. I allowed you to speak several times tonight.
Because again, you're ignoring the fact that you're violating your oath right now. Because you're saying that one council member can extend the enforcement date. Is that what you're saying?
Councilman Herring, I'm asking you.
And I'm asking you as a council member.
Let me finish, and I'll let you go. Let me finish, and then I'll let you go. I'm asking you, and if you decide not to, I'll let you have the first word. I'm asking you for the good of everybody that's online and in here that we go on with our business. And what you want to discuss, we will discuss on a few days from now. But since this argument is not going to go anywhere tonight, I'm asking you to allow us to move on. If you choose not to, I will give you 3 minutes to state your point.
I don't need 3 minutes because, again, all I'm going to say is, and I'm going to say it in 1 minute. Thank you, Councilman Fareed, for proving my point that one person cannot enforce the law and make the law effective, and that this law should be in effect right now, and that the council is sitting here and allow one council member to make a decision on an ordinance. It's not right. It's not fair. So either you're going to extend it or you're not. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. And now we'll move on to the budget. The only piece of legislation on the docket tonight is Ordinance 14-2025, an emergency ordinance to pass the FY 2026 budget. And I believe the proper procedure is for us to read it and then us have a vote to bring to the floor as an emergency ordinance and then us to vote. Any opposition to that? All right. Council Clerk. Okay. You may proceed.
An emergency ordinance for the purpose of adopting the city's fiscal year 2026 budget, whereas the city of Glenarden, Maryland, hereinafter the city, is a municipality organized under the authority of 11-E of the Maryland Constitution and as defined by the Maryland Code Local Government Article Section 1-101G, and whereas pursuant to Maryland Code Local Government Article Section 5-202, the city may adopt ordinances to, number one, assure the good government of the municipality, and two, protect and preserve the municipality's rights, property, and privileges. Whereas pursuant to Charter Section 60221 of the Charter, the City Council of Glenarden, hereinafter the council, has the express power to expend municipal funds for any public purpose and to have general management and control of the finances of the city. And whereas Charter Sections 308C and E respectively provide that, number one, an emergency ordinance may be adopted at the same meeting it is introduced, and two, it may become effective on a date certain. And whereas Charter Section 807B provides that if the council fails to adopt the budget by the second Monday in June, the budget for the current fiscal year shall be deemed adopted for the ensuing fiscal year as if it had been enacted by ordinance until the council adopts a new budget. And now therefore, be it enacted and ordained by the City Council of the City of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 12th day of June 2025, that the fiscal year budget 2026 for the City of Glenarden is as follows. I don't need to read all that.
Just the total expenses and total revenue.
Okay. The total revenue is $170,388.
No. I'll interject. The total revenues is $6,696,591, and the total expenditures from general fund is $6,696,591 with $153,000 coming from the surplus. Okay. Is there a motion to bring this ordinance to the floor as an emergency?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
I'll go Councilman Harry first, and then Councilwoman Fareed.
Yeah, I have a few issues with this budget. I've been looking over it again, and even though we had 2 meetings on it, they were rushed, so we trying to get it done, so we can finally get it done in the year that we should. But could I share my screen right quick?
1 second. Oh, I'm about to share. 1 second, sorry. I think you should be able to share now.
Okay.
If you could just, I don't know when it's going to come through, but make it enlarged. Yeah.
Point of clarification.
Yes. Point of
Are
clarification.
we still in the motion to determine whether or not it's an emergency?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to hold this?
No, so I got to hold off.
Do you want to hold
I got to
this?
hold off because we have
Okay.
decided it's an emergency.
All right. Then we'll move on to Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you. Can we please state the reason why this is an emergency?
The reason why it is an emergency is because we are past the time for us to pass the budget, and we have to have an approved budget by July the 1st. And according to the charter, that should have been done by the second Monday. Was it the second Monday?
The second Monday in June.
Second Monday in June.
Thank you.
Any other discussion before we vote on this being an emergency? Okay, we'll do a voice vote for this being deemed an emergency ordinance.
Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume?
Yes.
Councilman Hairston?
Yes.
Councilman Herring?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson?
Yes.
And Council President Curtis.
Yes. This ordinance is now deemed an emergency. Now is there a motion to bring this ordinance to the floor for a vote?
So move.
Moved by Councilman Herring. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Jones. Any discussion? Yes, Councilman Herring.
Yes. So, like I said, I was going through the budget, and I know we discussed the tax increase of 6 cents to take it up to 0.3947. So, I mean, I've been thinking about it, and I understand we need to do that because, again, the budget had a huge deficit, and technically, it was more than 500,000 because we got 153,000 in the budget right now that we're pulling from savings. So technically, the deficit was actually $600 and something thousand. So I just think that we need to look at everything, and the citizens shouldn't have to share this burden by themselves. So I went and got out constant yield tax certificate and did my own calculations and my own formulas. So basically, right now, what we have is $874 million in accessible tax base. The rate that we had is at 0.3338, which will give us $2.9 million. This budget has, using the same tax base, a tax rate of 0.3947, which will give you $3.5 million. And that's just a tax increase of like 6 cents. But it's a difference of $532,000 between what we'll be bringing in. The city proposed raising taxes to close this $518,000 deficit. Even with that increase, the budget still has a $153,000 deficit. $200,000 of that deficit is caused by the addition of a new retirement fund that the council just voted in. I was against it. I said from the start that it was going to cause a deficit. And looking at it now, we have 43 employees and only 10 are in this program. And so that $200,000 have to sit there. And that's an issue. That's a major issue for me because, again, I don't think that my 20 years on this council, I don't know one person that retired from the city of Glenarden, just one. Nobody retires from these small municipalities. You know, what you do is you come here, you get your experience, and then you move on to a bigger municipality that give you better benefits. And I wish I could give them a decent retirement account, but I mean, again, we can't afford it, and the citizens cannot afford that. We are going to, this $200,000 goes into the budget every year, and it goes up because there's cost of living adjustments. So I'm just saying that I propose that we eliminate the new retirement program. to the tune of $200,000. A citizen asked, where are our cuts? I think that's where the cut we need to do. I think that we need to take the tax rate down to 0.3718. That'll save the citizens $200,000. And it will give some relief. I'm just in the increase would be more like 3 cents or 4 cents versus the 6 cents. I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. I brought this up before, and it really bothers me that people think they know what's going on and they know what's better for the city. When I've been sitting here looking at this, doing this for years, and I said it was going to be a deficit. It was going to cause a deficit, and it is. And again, the employees aren't participating in it. If y'all were going to, like I said before, if y'all were going to do this, you would have been better off taking that $200,000, dividing it up 40 ways, and giving each employee $5,000. And they can do it for what they want to, if they wanted to put it in a 401k plan or whatever they wanted to do. But to sit there and give them a retirement account that they can't touch till they're 62 and a half or 60 years old, it ain't helping them none right now. You know, and that's if they do it. If they decide to pull it out early, they're going to get penalized for early withdrawal and whatever other fees and penalties come to us. So I think we really need to eliminate that program, take the tax rate down some. I mean, we basically caused this deficit because we were trying to give the employees better wages. We did a salary scale, so we took a lot of people up based on the salary scale that we got, and see, this is where we are. Now, if there's a downturn in the economy and taxes go down, real estate, I mean, the assessable tax base go down, we're gonna be really hurting, because again, you're gonna have to address this issue next year too. Because right now, you just raise taxes just enough to get through this year. So what are you gonna do next year with the $153,000 that you got in this year's budget? Because that's gonna be there next year too. So I'm just proposing that we actually take that tax rate down to 0.3718 and eliminate that retirement program that we definitely cannot afford. We had one in place. There's a small retirement program. They didn't enroll in that one. We got this other one where we're paying 7% of the citizens' money. I said no. Let's just have a happy medium, but nobody want to compromise, because I said, if they put in 4%, we max up to 4%. Don't give them a flat 3% when they walk in the door that they automatically get no matter what. If they want to participate, then make them also, if they want to have a retirement fund, then make them also participate. So that's my proposal. I think we need to take it down. That's my first thing. The second thing is police, okay, in the gasoline line, because I looked at that real close. So I'm really kind of miffed with this one, because the original budget had $60,000 in it for gas, and council decided to take it up to $80,000. So the budget for 2025 was $100,000. The actual as of April 2025 is $47,817. The projected cost for FY25 will be $57,380. So the number you had before was actually where you should have been, because they're only going to do like $57,000 this year. So then that's $2,812 for each officer. So and let's just say, that's for 17 officers, because I say we're here with short staff. So I calculated it out for 22 officers. That comes up to $61,880. So the most this budget number really should be is $65,000, and that's to account for any increases in gas in 2026 budget year. So I went to the $80,000 that we had budgeted. That's $3,636 per officer for 22 officers. And I don't see the justification based on the actual numbers that we have to take it up to $80,000. I mean, there's no rationale, right? I mean, when you're factoring it out, $61,000, you were on target when you originally did it, and I'd even way to go, up to 65, just to account if gas decided to go up. But $80,000, and we're borrowing from our savings and allowing the citizens and having the citizens have higher taxes to pay for a retirement fund that no one's using. So I propose that we decrease that number by $15,000 to $65,000. Public Works, snow removal. We have $40,000 in Public Works for snow removal. And we have a highway user surplus of $285,000? $286,000. I propose we take the $40,000 from highway user, which is what it's used for, put $40,000 in the revenue, and take that number down, and then we can take that deficit down by $40,000, which will take it down to 110. I propose that we take $40,000 from the highway user revenue, which we have, a surplus. If you look in this budget, it's a $286,000 surplus if you go to capital improvement. Take $40,000 from that and put $40,000 in revenue to cover snow removal for the city, because that's an allowable expense for highway user funds.
That's a good question, Councilman.
Okay. Also, with the Public Works Director, I just don't believe, one, I have a problem with that going up to.
I'm sorry, just want to make sure that. Do you have that?
The Public Works Director, I have a problem taking a position that's vacant and giving a cost of living increase to it. Nobody was in that position, and we took it up to $86,000, and we have a deficit. We have nobody in that position. I think we need to take it back down to $81,554, and we can factor in, have a separate line for a possible merit increase of 4% if they stay, after their 6-month evaluation. Is that when they get their first evaluation? That would take them up to $84,000. It doesn't save us much, but it saves us something. And I think we need to do that, because what happens is when we put that $86,000 in there, they come in there at $86,000 versus putting 81 in there and then letting them work their way up and showing them that, hey, we appreciate what you're doing. We're gonna give you a 40% increase and take you up to 84. So like I said, it isn't far from where you want to be, but I think it's better than lumping that in there, and that gives you a time to see if the person you have is really worth keeping. So that's something I would like to see adjusted. And the final thing is the gold room, and I gave you out a gold room schedule. So I pulled the gold room fees that we approved in the last meeting, and I basically I wanted to estimate how much we can earn in that gold room. So the first column shows how much we can earn based on one event per week in the gold room. So if the next column shows the estimated income per month. So I just multiplied the one event per week by 4. So we can make basically per month $3,600 in non-prime time if we did 4 events a month. Fridays, which is a higher rate, we can do $4,400. Prime time, you have 2 different, you have a number of fees there. So Fridays, you can make $8,600. Saturday, during the daytime, we can make $9,996. And Saturday evening, we can make $11,400. And Sundays, if we can get people in there, $8,600. Repass, we can make $2,000. And a possible memorial service, you can make $5,200, and that's per month. So the estimated income that we could possibly make in that gold room if we book out 4 events each month is a total of $645,552. Now, I know that's unrealistic. It is not going to happen because I know we're not going to book every weekend. So my thing is, because the budget was showing a deficit, is that I'm looking at doing, this is what I'm proposing, that we have, what we need to do. The bare minimum is if we can have 1 event a month for each one of these categories, we can bring in $161,000, which is what is in the budget right now, which and that'll leave us with I think a $17,000 surplus, or I'll show what it is. Oh yeah. Oh, that'll leave us with I'm sorry. I think it's 17. Is it 17,000? 17,005. Yeah. So, but I also think that, the gold room needs to be marketed. I think that we need to push out the fact that now we passed the rules and regulations that you can bring your food in here if it's a private affair. push out there that is, open for business, hit some of these trade shows. We left the marketing budget up to $7,000, and we need to make sure it's utilized. But I also think we need to give the Go Room coordinator an incentive. So I think in the proposed budget, the rental fees are at $161,000, and I think if we challenge her to get, 10% of what the budgeted amount is, and she's able to bring in $177,000, that we would give that person a 3% proposed commission, which is $5,322. I mean, $5,325. I got it right here under this one right here is the budget that I put out here. So if she can make it to 177,000, I factored in a possible commission of 5,700, because that means she may hit, if she can hit 190, she can get the whole 57. If not, we still covered if she only makes the 177. But it still would give us a surplus of $27,000, or almost $28,000. So that's my proposal. I think that some of this is doable. I think that with the Gold Room, we really just need to look at it differently, and we just really need to market it. I think it would sell itself, but even doing the bare minimum, which should be able to done, you got 4 weekends in a month, so you should be able to book one event a month, for the next 12 months. And anything over and above that, is additional. And if she hits that goal of 177, she's rewarded because she's brought in more than what we're actually looking at. That's a suggestion. That's what I think we need to do for the Gold Room. Like I say, it can make money. And again, these rates are supposed to be competitive. That's what everybody was saying that we took them up to. So I think we need to do something different, and I think we can actually do it. I mean, like I said again, one event a month is not a lot of events to do, and I think you can do that easier. And then my thing is, when we get to the winter months, when we get a little slow, because a lot of people don't get married in the winter months, maybe we want to give some type of, maybe a discount. Even a small discount won't hurt, because we will make it up in additional fee. With the fee increases, we'll make it up that way. So again, and technically, like I said again, we could make $645,000 if she's aggressive enough to get that. But I know that's not realistic, because again, we're just trying to get back on our feet. So that's my takes on the budget. Huh? Yeah, I got a tab for each one. I can actually, but I don't have a summary for it. Do you have the actual spreadsheet up?
Okay. All right. So we heard $40,000 for user highway and everything you talked about relating to the Gold Room.
Yeah. And police gas.
What's that? Gas is 80, and you want to propose it to go down to 15. So 15,000 saved.
Yeah.
Mr. Stewart, is that correct? Are we only looking to get to? Are we projected to get to? What are we projected to get to for gas for the police department? He said 52,000.
No, I said it's projected to get to almost 60,000.
So that's $60,000 will actually take back. Right, it would leave us with maybe $90,000 coming out of reserves. So we are saying 40,000 we're going to take.
To put, yeah.
We're going to put in
40,000 in revenue from highway user, on the highway user line in revenue.
40,000 of it, then this 15 from.
If that's what the council wants to do.
All right,
That was just my proposal.
Yeah, let's just, because I think we're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
Let's stick with the gas. The gas, where are we projected to land for 2025? Councilman Harris said almost 60. I just want to confirm.
How big we may end up at 60, because we're looking at 47.
Here.
sorry about that. We're looking at 47,000 through to April, right?
So based on, I'm just going to trust his calculations. If he broke that down over 9 months,
10 months.
10 months.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry, April excluded. Yeah, 10 months. Then you just adding
56.
Okay, all right. So then that's all I want to confirm, that there's $15,000 that we could take out for gas because we're not going to go that high.
Yeah.
All right, so we have $15,000 for gas, and expense cut. We're increasing revenue by $40,000 for the grant, right? The user highway funds.
Yes, so the user highway fund would go up
Okay.
to mitigate that cost. And then we have the Public Works Director.
Yeah,
What's the
But
your
your
difference?
recommendation was to bring it to 84,000?
Where's it now?
Bring it to 81.
81.
And where's it now? Can somebody just tell me
I
something?
said 86.
So it's 5.
Yeah. So I'm also proposing that you put a merit increase in there.
I'm sorry?
I'm also proposing you put a merit increase in there to take them back up after their evaluation. So,
Just thank you.
yeah.
All right, and those were the numbers,
That's the
right?
rest of it, yeah.
So that will save us $57,500. So
Yeah.
the deficit will go down from 153. I mean, the need to tap into the surplus will go down from
90 something.
153
Yeah.
to the 90s.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else, Councilman Ayers?
Yeah, the tax rate, because we still got to vote on the tax rate tonight. Because it has to go, correct, Mrs. Stewart? When we vote on the budget, do we vote on the tax rate?
No, but you did vote on it last week, and I've already sent it out. to-
Did we? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yes, I've already sent it.
All right. So we'll still be tapping it for $90,000 approximately.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments, Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes, I know that there are changes being made here, and I'm just wondering if it would be more prudent to wait until next week when the other two council members are sworn in to go through these changes, because you would still be able to pass this by June 30th. I mean, I'm about to be out the door. I don't know that, this is something that's go forward in the sense that, the types of events, et cetera, and not, I'm just curious if it would be better to do that.
Hold it. Point of order, Mr. President. Can I ask a question? Hold up. Didn't we advertise in the paper that we were going to have a public hearing today?
Yes.
To make a decision on the tax rate? Correct?
You voted on it last week.
No. We gave a
But you're-
consensus that we would do it we would bring it in at 39 cents.
39, right.
We made a consensus. We did not vote on it. We couldn't vote on it because, remember, we hadn't advertised it yet.
And you have to do your...
You have to advertise it first. So that's what this public hearing is actually for, to vote on the budget and the tax rate. We haven't, you sent it down already, but it wasn't supposed to go down till tomorrow, actually. So.
I actually set it for tomorrow, yeah.
Huh, you set
I set it for tomorrow.
You set it to set it for tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, thank God. So I'm just saying, so it hasn't
But
gone down.
the
We
only
gotta
thing
vote.
I need to do is after you vote on it, then I'll
you can send it
the
down.
letters out to everyone to let them know what the rate is going to be. But the legislative is good, and the state and the Prince George's County is waiting on me.
Mr. Gray, can you put the virtual attendees back on the TV, please? I can't see if anyone has raised their hand. If Councilman Hairston or Councilwoman Guillaume has raised their hand, so that'll be helpful. All right. Are there any other any other comments during discussion? All right, hear none. Then that is $57,500 in savings. And without any other discussion, we'll move forward with
That's
the,
it. Tax rate, but
yeah, so, well, we're in the motion for the vote for the budget.
yeah.
So, as amended for the $40,000 capital highway, the 15,000 decrease in expenses and gas, those are the two amendments, and the $2,500 decrease, net decrease, I believe, in the, what was that, Department of
Public Works.
Public Works.
But I still need to ensure that the amount that we're putting in is on the scale,
Right.
on the pay scale.
Correct.
Well, you
Right,
can
but
do
in
that when you
general.
hire the person, but the money is
Right.
there.
Council
You just have to adjust it for scale.
Yes.
If I may, with the PW director position, it's actually a bit lower, Mr. Herring, because we're looking at tier 1 through tier 3 based upon, so it's about 78 for the starting pay. I'll get that confirmed. I'm working to do that now. As related to the pay scale, to make sure we
So
are.
you're saying it's about what?
It's about 78,052. I'll get that confirmed. I'm trying to work on that now. So the starting range is going to range from that. What was originally proposed was including the 3% increase as you had stated. But after discussion, because we are actively trying to fill that position, have it confirmed to make sure that these salaries are on the pay scale. It goes from 78 approximately to 84. And I'll get that confirmed here in just a moment. So it'd be I would suggest go a bit lower for the entry level position.
No, for the director
For the director.
of Public Works.
For the director of public works,
Okay.
yes. Sorry.
All right, so now I'm a bit confused. We're 81 now.
We're at 81, but
Yeah.
he's saying take off another 2,000, bring it to 78.
On the scale, to make sure, I just want to assure, because I know there's been challenges there to confirm that we have people on the pay scale. And I don't know if that number that you mentioned is actually on the pay scale.
Well, I mean, right now, you really need to make sure that the starting number is on the pay scale, because everything else can be, that's your wiggle room. So, I mean, you're saying it's 78, so is it over $78,000?
It's a 15-1, yes.
Yeah,
15
Can we just, we agreed for it to be at what, 81? I mean, we don't, just because it's in the budget
Yeah.
doesn't mean we're going to give them 81. Whatever the scale is, that's, and what's approved to be advertised,
Yeah, so
that
you can
is
go-
the
yeah, you
salary.
can go down.
So
Okay.
that 81 is going to be the,
So we'll hold it at
the
81.
wiggle
Max.
room for the merit increase. So I don't think we need to do anything with that. Are there any other things before I explicitly state the amendments so we're all clear on what we're voting for? All right, so I'm going to restate the amendments again, all right? Based on what the budget that was proposed to us tonight, we're making the following amendments, and then we're going to proceed with the amended version, a vote on the amended version of the budget. Amendment 1, moving $40,000 from the highway user funds to revenue.
Yes.
Amendment number 2, decreasing the gas in the police station from 80 to 65. Amendment number 3 is decreasing the amount in the Director of Public Works salary by $2,500.
Yes.
And lowering that tax rate and getting rid of the retirement program. That would be amendment 4 if the council want to do it.
I don't think there's any argument with the first 3 amendments. Unless anybody else wants to step up for the last 2 items.
And
I don't think that's going to fly.
for the Gold Room, the incentive that you're talking about.
Oh, and the Gold Room adjustments.
5,700.
Yeah, but that's within its own budget, so.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
Are there any objections to what Councilman Herring suggested with the Gold Room and the incentive? Okay, we're clear. So now we're going to move forward with voting on the amended FY 26 budget. Agreed? All right. Madam Clerk, a voice vote.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Pass.
okay. Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Pass.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
okay, Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes. Yeah, I think I gotta go to the passes.
Yeah, go back to the passes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
all right, Councilman Herring,
Abstain.
It passes, thank you. All right. That is all we have on the agenda. The time is, oh, I'm sorry. Official vote on the constant yield. Thank you. We already passed the budget. It's in there at .3947. I'll go to a voice vote to.
But, Mr. President, if you voted for it in the budget, you just approved it.
That is true.
Yeah, you just approved it.
It's already in.
It's approved, it's already in the budget. So you're good.
In the budget. All right, now, if there's nothing else, the time is 10:27. This meeting is now adjourned.